in the whole area, the whole occupational area of real estate sales, the number one opportunity is to build a mega agent team. But it's also a set of challenges, and we're going to go through that. The number two opportunity is to work on one, to be a member of that team. Because if you have the right leader that you're working for, they're going to build in the right people around them, they're going to build the right systems, they're going to have the right lead generation, and you're going to get to do the part of real estate that you love to do without having the hassle and stress of trying to do it all. Do you understand that? And the rest of you, the other people in this room, are people who right now are practicing real estate as a solo practitioner. And you're in the toughest part of the real estate business to do. Not that you can't do it, not that you can't do it really well, not that you can't build a foundation to take it to whatever level you want. You can, but that's the toughest part of the game, because you're wearing all the hats, you're doing all the things, there are so many different tasks. In fact, one of the things that when you really start to study the practice of real estate, as Gary Keller and I did for many, many years, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how it came to be that we wrote the best-selling book in the history of real estate. And we were students of the game. And as we looked around, we said, well, you know what people don't understand if they're in real estate is they don't understand how complicated their business is, so they can't organize it. They're kind of winging it every day, trying to put hard work ethic into it, trying to make it happen, juggling all the things, feeling stressed out, never quite getting it all done. And it doesn't get organized. It doesn't get systematic. There's the key word. It doesn't get systematic. So, when that happens, the only way for it to get there is you have to understand the whole game, and you have to understand it a bit more analytically than it's your nature to want to understand it. So we figured we would do that work for real estate agents, and we analyzed the real estate business, the real estate agent, sales production business, and we put all the pieces together, just as we had done to build the most powerful real estate office system, the Keller Williams franchise system, which is the most powerful, most profitable, now the #1 real estate system in the United States, soon to be in North America, and then in probably a couple, 3 years in every category, not just agent numbers. And the reason we have done so successfully in that is because we put together all the pieces of how you run a successful real estate office. We know all those pieces. We have a proprietary software program that manages all the production and financial information. We have feedback loops that help people compare their performance against other people and other offices. And that automatically improves performance. Just keep this thought in mind. I'm going to say it later, but I want to say it right now. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. When you pay attention to the key numbers in your life, your business life, they always improve. That's just magic. It's just magic. But if you're not paying attention to them, they don't. So you've got to track it. You've got to know your numbers. You've got to see what's happening. Doesn't matter what it is. Don't judge it. Don't criticize it. But if you keep track of it, it will get better. The feedback will automatically make you better. So in Keller Williams, every one of our offices every month gets feedback on how they're doing compared to all other offices and profitability. And so one of the neat things that was announced to me, took my breath away at family reunion this year at Keller Williams, was not that we were #1 in America. That was wonderful. #1 in agent count, just past Caldwell Banker. You know, we've just the year before, 3 years before, gone past Remax. Before that, Century 21. Before that, Prudential. We're still going up the chain. So now we were #1. But that was like the big rah-rah. But to me, there was another number under that. He said, Mark Willis reported 91% of Keller Williams offices were profitable and profit sharing. Whoa. 91% in the real estate industry in this time, breathtaking, breathtaking. We're profitable. Well, why? Because the company cares about that. So what I'm saying is we were analytic about building a powerful real estate company that ran great real estate offices where agents would want to bring their careers, build their businesses. And part of the reason we wrote this book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, because this is a company that believes in that, supports it, and allows agents to grow their own brand within Keller Williams. Right? It's Dave Jenks, greatest realtor in the world, powered by Keller Williams. Right? That's how the brand grows. It's Lori Ballin, powered by Keller Williams. So it's just, that's, you know, the Ballin team, right? Ballin Group. So it evolves over time. But the point is that it's, that we created a company that would do that. So what we wanted to do for the real estate agent was the same kind of analytics, the same kind of way that you could understand the details of your business without having to go and do your own research. So we did it, and we discovered that there are 172 tasks of a real estate agent. 172 tasks. So, by the way, these are 172 steps. These are 172 tasks. Like one is creating a CMA. That's a task. Well, there's a lot of steps to creating a CMA, right? It's negotiating an offer. That's a task, but it's complicated. There's a lot of steps in it. There's skill involved. So it's not like each of these 172 is like a piece of cake, like enter data. So there's 172. Now what we've done in this millionaire real estate agent path is we have organized those 172 to know which ones are most important. We call them your 20%, the ones that really matter, and then the others that still need to be taken care of. And then as you build your team, we've separated those 172 into all the roles on the team. So by the time you get to be the CEO of your team, there's only 34 that you're focused on out of the 172. And you've got everyone else doing the others, right? Now for them, they have their own 20% and 80%. So for every role, these tasks set up for them the same way. They have their important, your transaction coordinator has their important tasks, their 20%, and then they have the others that they need to manage, that they're in charge of. And same thing with your marketing admin, and same thing with your buyer's agents and listing specialists. So one of the things you're going to see as we build this path together this morning is you're going to see how all of this kind of comes together in a very clear business-like way. And all of that is part of going right back to what I said is it's creating for you in your mind the sense of a vision of what you could build, even though it may feel like it's a long way from you right now. So if what I do today at times seems a little overwhelming and a little more complicated, than makes you feel comfortable, that's okay. Just let it wash over you. Let the complexity wash over you. Your brain power is more than you give it credit for. It will absorb it, you will understand it, and you will start to make different decisions based on it because you can see things as possible that aren't now true. Now the second part of that is they aim high, and that just means to do more than you think it will take. To be willing to do more than you think it will take. Because the biggest mistake you can make in real estate is to think it's simple. People would say, yeah, it's not rocket science. Gary Keller and I would say, oh, yes, it is. Oh, it is rocket science. This is a complicated business. You just want to see how many people can actually do it and figure it out and build relationships. I mean, here you have to meet strangers and build enough trust in them, like within minutes, for them to entrust the biggest economic transaction in their life, that you'll handle it, buyer side or seller side, in a short period of time. And then you've got to stay in touch with them all the way and educate them, while at the same time you're acting on their behalf, and then helping them understand it. It's complicated. And then there's, I don't have to add it, all the stuff that can't be good, all of the complexity of real estate law and the ever-changing scene of that, and what's regulatory and what forms to use and all that stuff. I mean, it's complicated legally, so you know that. So what it is, you have to not fool yourself and understand that this is a challenging, difficult business. Now, I don't say that in a depressing way. That should lift you up to say, yep, and I'm going to learn it and do it well. So number two is be willing to do more than you think it will take, because that's what it's going to take. Often it takes less than you think, but you have to be willing to do whatever it takes. And the final one is act bold. And all that simply means is to do that which you're currently uncomfortable doing. To act bold doesn't mean you have to be audacious or, aggressive or, anything that is personality-wise. It does mean that you have to overcome your insecurities. It means you have to do things that aren't right now comfortable, because that's the learning curve. That's how you get to do things better, by doing them bad. I always say that the path to adept is through inept. Think about that. The only way you get adept at anything is trying it, making mistakes, learning from the mistakes, being bad, then getting a little better, then realizing what makes you better, then getting it, doing it, and pretty soon you're really good. Now you're confident. Now you're competent. Now maybe you're compared to other people, you're like world class. But None of the world-class players ever started out that way. They had to go through that uncomfortableness. So just welcome the uncomfortableness. That's what I would say to you. When you're trying something new, calling it for sale by owner, making the listing presentation, aggressively asking for the order, letting a little bit of your anger come up when the other agent isn't doing their part of the transaction, rather than just kind of caving in and being soft. And that feels uncomfortable. That's okay. Just say, that's where I need to be. I need to expand my comfort zone. I used to teach the Dale Carnegie course, people who are afraid of public speaking. And I could watch people who week one would be up in front of the room and they could barely remember what their name was, while they're holding on white knuckle to the table. And 12 weeks later, they could come up in front of the room, I'd fire them a topic from the back of the room, and they'd give a 2-minute speech extemporaneous just like that, and loved it. Or they'd do a silly skit up in front and make a fool of themselves, right? And not feel bad about it. That's just in 12 weeks. How'd they do it? They did it by what we called expanding their comfort zone. You have a comfort zone in which everything feels okay. Then you have the part when you start to feel edgy and insecure and unsure of yourself. That's the zone of growth, that it feels uncomfortable. But after you've done that a little while, you get comfortable. And now your comfort zone is expanded. So part of what we're talking about is the willingness to expand your comfort zone, to do that which you're currently uncomfortable doing. Okay, so Gary and I, it's interesting, we got together and it was magical. We were like Lennon and McCartney, in writing songs. We just had this commitment to real estate agents, and we loved the game of real estate, and we were both students of that game and researchers of business and sales. I taught sales, Gary had taught sales. We both taught business and built businesses. And so we made a commitment in 1996 that we would build a training program that would help agents take their real estate practices, turn them into businesses, and take them as far as they could. And we started building this little manual called the Remarkable Real Estate Sales Business Game. That's what it was. And every time we would do a training session or have a mastermind group or a mega agent camp, we would give the latest version of the Remarkable Real Estate Sales Business Game. And Debbie probably has the whole history of all those versions as they evolved, because we were on that same path of creating things that didn't exist before but knowing they needed to. So we would ask different questions. And as we grew that, it finally came to the point where in 2002 we said, we need to write a book that will change the real estate industry. And I just checked on Amazon last night, and this book in the real estate category is still #1. Not #1 all time. It is that for sure. #1, like yesterday. That means of all the books being sold in the real estate category in the last 48 hours, #1. That's how fast the Amazons change every hour. The Amazon ratings change every hour based on current sales over the last 24 hours and in the last 48 hours, the last week. I mean, they kind of balance that. So the point is, it's amazing that this keeps being what we wanted it to be. So I guess it isn't amazing. We wanted it to be that, which was the path, the book that would guide agents to take their real estate practice to the highest possible level. So what I want to cover today, I want to jump kind of I'm going to cover some of the basics, but then I'm going to jump to really the key elements of making it truly a business, and what are the elements that have to work, and how does that fit, and what are the tools here that I can use, and some other tools that Debbie and we have here at the Market Center that are even more detailed than this, like the 172 tasks. In fact, we have a wall chart. Where is it?
That's what I just made a note of. I'm like, where is it? Because it should be on the back of that door.
Yeah, it should be somewhere here. But the point is, we have an Excel spreadsheet wall chart that's about 2 feet by 4 feet that lists the 172 tasks down the left-hand side, and then across the top, by 7 categories of functions, but there are 172 tasks. Across the top, it has a level 1, that's where you're by yourself, level 2, where you have your first admin, level 3, where you have your second admin, and then all the way up to the 7th level. It shows, and then it shows how those 172 tasks break out and get handled by each of the people on your team, and also by a little code system, which ones are there 20% and which ones are there 80%. So it's kind of a, I mean, you take a look at it, it's kind of one of those things where you ought to, like 2 hours every week, sit down in front of it, you know, with a little, you know, incense burning and the light shining on it, and just kind of sit there in the lotus position, and you know, with the drug of your choice, and just meditate on that chart, because it'll just make everything start to get organized and come clear. All right. So anyway, we wanted to build those things, and we wrote the book. So what I want to do today is really take us through a thought. Now you have the handouts. Look for the handout that has this as the first slide. And the second one I'm going to get to this real quick. It's a little sidebar thing I want to do about building a real estate brokerage. It's important to understand. So you can see that I've got all my slides around here, so you can take notes next to it. So put your name at the top in case you happen to leave that somewhere. Put your name and cell phone number so that somebody could call you right away if you leave it behind, or you put it somewhere, because I want this to have thoughts. Now, the important thing to write down, there will be some things I'll ask you to write down because I think they're important, but other things would be your ahas. When anything hits you is like, oh yeah, I want to remember that, then write it down. Ahas are so instructive. It's really where you learn, but better than questions. Ahas are more important than questions. Questions make you think there's something you need to know before you can do something. Ahas empower you to do something. An interesting difference. That's why we don't ask at the end of our presentations, Gary and I, we don't say, anyone have any questions? We say, what are your ahas? That's much more powerful from a learning point of view. So anyway, let's take a look. So the first place we want to look at is, how does it work if you're in a business? I mean, how does it, why is that, why do we even have something we call businesses? And I always laugh when people say they're in a not-for-profit business. They go, really? So the money doesn't matter, right? You have unlimited resources to do whatever you want, you don't care how it turns out. Well, no, we only have, we have a budget. Oh, well, I guess then you can only stay within that budget. And you have to depend on getting more revenues if you want to do more, and being good with your money to get more done for less. Is that true? Oh yeah, well then you're in a profit business. Do you get paid? Oh yeah, I'm the EO of our not-for-profit. Oh, so I guess enough money left over to pay you would be important. Is that right? Well, I guess you're in a for-profit business and the profit gets paid to you as a salary. See, people they want to play with this as if they're these grandiose, caring, loving, giving people because they're in a not-for-profit corporation. And I go, no, the economics always matter. The economics always matter. So, I want to say that. So when we say in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it's not about the money, we were lying. It is about the money. Because you can do a lot of other things for fun and not get paid. So, can you love real estate? Yeah. Can you have a passion for it? Yeah. Do you love helping people in it? Oh yeah. It's a profession you can be happy in. Just ask Gallup. But the thing is, it is about the money. Now what we meant by that was it's not just about the money. It's not about the $1 million. It's about how big can you take it. It's about being the best you can be. That was the point we wanted to make. But you know what? It's a business. And I know that every one of you here wouldn't mind if it made you a little more money than it is today. So that being said, let's take a look at this, because he was one of our mentors, Robert Kiyosaki, in his book Cash Flow Quadrant. By the way, if you want a Kiyosaki book to read, that's the one. And he's written a lot of books, and he's a great marketeer of financial information and investing and all that stuff. But his Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a really good one to read, because if you understand how your upbringing influenced how you look at money. Really did. I had to fight mine, by the way. I had a father who was blue collar to the core. Union guy, blue collar, hated management, hated ownership, had no idea why, but he did. Thought money was the root of all evil, so we didn't have any. We had a happy lifestyle because there was a lot of love and caring and all of that in the home, so we didn't starve, but, it wasn't enough money. So, the point is, I had to overcome that, because I found out I was more ambitious. I did want things. I did want to make things happen. I wanted to be in leadership and ownership and management and make money. So it took me a while, really, to overcome that early training. So Rich Dad Poor Dad is good about really understanding where your ideas about money and wealth and business come from, and then you can say what ones are really my beliefs and attitudes. But his second book, Cash Flow Quadrant, really tells you about how you build wealth into your life. Wealth is when you have more money than you're spending, when you have the assets to do whatever you want to do without necessarily working for it. So here's what he says. There are 4 ways money comes into your life. You can work for somebody and be a what? Employee, right? So you can do that, and you get paid a salary, and the bandwidth of people who are on salaries is very narrow. In other words, it has, even though there's the old bell-shaped curve, 68%, probably right around $45,000 or something. That bell-shaped curve rolls out. And to get out on the end of it, you've got to be CEO of a major corporation, and there you go. But that's just so small on the tail. So number 2 is you can work for yourself, like we do, self-employed. So self-employed has the advantage that there's no ceiling on your earnings. Okay? But he said both of these quadrants require you to what? Be there, right. Show up and do the work. You have a job. It may be discretionary. You may decide not to show up, but if you don't show up, you don't get paid, right, on a self-employed job. So they're both jobs. Now what he said was the key to building wealth is on the other side of this. And it's first you can own a business. Now owning a business is what we're talking about. Owning a business that pays you profit, that can grow over time and pay you more and more profit without you putting more and more time in it. And then ultimately at some time, being an owner of an entity or a company that pays you profits, and you don't really do any of the day-to-day work in that. Doesn't mean you don't have a role as an owner. Owners always have a big role and responsibility. So it's not like hands-off, not passive, it's not truly passive income. Right? There's no income, there's only one form of income. Is that mine? I just realized I didn't turn mine off, so if it goes off, I'm in trouble. Okay, so the second thing is, you can own a business. Now Kiyosaki is very tough about the concept of a business. He said, here's for him the definition of when you own a business. If you can leave it for 6 months, and when you come back it's doing as well or better than when you left, you own a business. Now, that's a high end. That really is 7th level. You've got all the right people in place, the right motivation, they're growing, they've got your systems and brand, and they're making it grow. There are bunches of people that own those. People that own McDonald's franchises, people that own Jiffy Lubes, people that own all kinds of other big businesses. I mean, Bill Gates doesn't have to show up, and he may choose to, they didn't have to, but it still makes millions, billions, whatever. So, and the third way he said is you can make smart what? Investments. And that's where you don't work for money, money works for you. You write that down. I means money works for me. Meaning, I've got my money somewhere where it's earning more money. And then that's making me wealthy. So the one thing that somebody pointed out on Lori Ballard's website the other day, which is really wonderful, she's got several sites that really are gathering people together who are on this path of building mega agent teams, MREA teams. And in there, somebody raised the question about, well, is there really just this one path, this one lockstep, how you hire people on? And he said, just go read the bottom of page 273, the footnote. And it's really funny that somebody would be that precise to have actually read the footnote on one of our charts, but I'll read it to you because it's very instructive to what we're going to talk about today. But at the bottom, the little footnote right down here, at the bottom of this chart, and he read it and knew it, it says, you do not need to predetermine which level you will ultimately achieve. There's an interesting thought. The key is to master the level you're on, and then let that set the foundation for the possibility of moving to the next level. Trying to skip levels or move too quickly may set the stage for burnout or backsliding. We've seen that happen lots of times. People try and do this too fast. They don't master it as they go. Then here's the note, and he said, no. If you decide against going to the 7th level, you better master investment. Well, what a great sense, right? If you don't want to build a business in your real estate career, then you better master the other one, which is investing. And of course, our second book was The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. So we've got the guide to that too, in the same kind of way. So you can do both. And that's what we would say. We would say, here's the thing. Our goal today, and in the book, and I hope you all have it, and I hope you read it and reread it. It's one of those things that you want to keep revisiting. That's what he said in his comment too. I understand was there, because I didn't need it the first time I read it. So it's a good thing to give yourself some spaced repetition. If you're working on your business, one of the things about working on your business is to read the book again, or go to a section of it that kind of has your attention. That's why we have such a detailed table of contents in the front, so that it's easy to find what you're looking for in the book, right? Because it's detail categorized. Oh, that's on these pages, so you'll find it. So that's this, and then of course the second book was about creating that, and then in your game of real estate, your business, you can actually do both. You can have people, you can invest in real estate, and you can help others invest in real estate. That if you want to. And of course, many of the best agents really treat their buyers as investors. I'm going to find you a home you will love living in, and will be a great investment for your financial future. That's a script I could use. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, let me explain how I work. Number one, my goal is to get you a home that you will just love living in. Number two, like most other agents, I want that home to be a financial investment for you and your family. So you just get that language down. All right, so this is why building a business really moves you in your real estate career over toward the wealth building side, where you can build something bigger. Now, when you're part of a team, you get to do this too as part of that team. You're building your career, you're helping that business grow, and if you're a talent on that team, those people who are building MREA will build other opportunities. You will find that. They will start to realize they want your talent to grow with them, and they're going to start building in opportunities to be part of another venture, or invest in another venture, or invest in real estate, right? Because that will be what they do. Because they care about keeping the talent on their team. One of the things you find, and I'll say this both for the leaders of people building mega teams, those of you who are going to, as a leader, when you bring on a talent on your team, you have made a commitment to them. Now you expect one from them. If that doesn't show up, they're not going to be there long. But if they have commitment to you, then you have commitment to them. Not in a welfare sense, but in a mutual partnership sense. You're helping them grow, you may be challenging them. They are getting the chance to be around somebody who's as astute and leadership and visionary as you are, so they get to grow, and then that venture can get to a place where... I'll give you a great example. This is really one of those funny things. One of our heroes in real estate is a lady by the name of Evie Halliday. I don't know if you've ever heard of Evie Halliday Real Estate in Dallas, Texas. Dallas-Fort Worth.
McKinney.
Huh?
And McKinney.
And McKinney. Okay, well that's Dallas-Fort Worth. It's the metro place. But you're right. All of those growing suburbs around. And Evie, 40 years ago or 50 years ago or who knows, 60 years ago, founded this little real estate company. She was herself a real estate agent. Her first assistant was a lady by the name of Mary Frances Burleson. And she was an admin. So Evie was the agent. Mary Frances Burleson was her admin. So now here we are 60 years later. Evie's 100 years old. Still goes to work every day.
Wow.
Except when she's traveling the world and giving speeches and all. So she has a lot of freedom in her life, but she just loves that. She said, somebody asked her, how did you live to be 100 years old? She said, I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I don't retire. A great quote. So anyway, Evie, so here's the thing. Who is, and was for many years, she may be retired now, but who is the CEO of Evie Halliday, one of the top 20 real estate independent ownerships in the entire country, has been for decades? Mary Frances Burleson, right? She was an admin that grew to be a CEO in a visionary's business. See, that's the kind of opportunity that's powerful. So I say that. So here's the flow. Now here's the fundamental question. It's the fundamental question on the next slide. It says to keep we believe that real estate agents, based on their personal goals, really have a choice. You can keep your real estate practice as a job, a self-employed, solo practitioner job, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. We are not looking down our noses at anyone that does it and does that in the way they want. There's a lot of sort of advantages in terms of flexibility, freedom of kind of doing what you want, not having any supervision, not having feeling accountable to other people. You know, that may or may not be a benefit, but it is often felt as one. And so you kind of, for people who like to stay really independent, loosey-goosey, that's a great place to be. Okay, if you're doing the production you want to do. Or you can turn your real estate business, practice into a business. That's what we're talking about today. Or you can turn your real estate practice into a really big business, which is possible. Right? You won't know how big you can build it until you start to do it. Right? So for you, the question is, which one appeals to me? That's just a question I would ask you. Which one right now appeals to me? Which idea? And then how far? So when we say the millionaire real estate agent, you could be the $200,000 real estate agent. And we would say that first you would earn $200,000, then you would net $200,000, and then you would receive $200,000. So if down the road somewhere you had a real estate practice with enough business in it and all the people there, and it was sending you $200,000 a year in passive income, would that be like a good thing? Yes? What? To receive $200,000 a year in passive income.
Absolutely.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, so that's a good outcome. That's very doable. That's very doable. So it doesn't have to be a million, although we know agents that are at a million. Linda McKissick's at a million. So anyway, so here's the place, and this is why I want to take some time to do this. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. Right. You are going to be right. Right? It's self-fulfilling prophecy, how you think about what's possible for you. So we're not trying to be simplistic with have a positive mental attitude and that sort of thing. We're just saying start to see things that can be and get out of your own way. Don't let your thinking undermine your ambition. Right? Don't let your thinking undermine your intentions. That's the key. So we say this is the game. If you're playing a real estate game, it's about leads, listings, and leverage. Those are the 3 L's. That's the fundamental. First, you master leads, and you always work on leads all the time. You are the leader of leads. You are making that business happen. It may start as prospecting. It ends up as marketing. What we said in the book, and it's still true, that the mega agent team is marketing driven and prospecting enhanced. So you can build a sales career on prospecting, but you can't build a mega agent team on prospecting. Unless you hire a bunch of prospectors, and that's okay. There are a couple of people that have done that. They believe in that as a strategy. But the truth is, the biggest agents are really good at attracting business, because prospecting is going out and seeking business. Marketing is attracting business. And you can do a lot more marketing than you can do prospecting. So you can attract a lot more business. Now you have to master, you still have to ask for business. You still have to talk to people and get them to meet with you and then sign the agreement. So it isn't like you get rid of prospect, you're getting rid of direct sales contact, but you don't necessarily have to do the classic cold calling. So the point is, it's leads, then it's listings, meaning focused on getting listings, particularly seller listings, and see, I can't tell you how many people who are experienced agents stopped their lead generation for listings during the last 4 years. And now, with the market's now 74% conventional, non-distressed sales, they wish they'd kept up on it, because now they'd have the inventory. While no one else can get the inventory. You understand what I'm saying? You always are playing ahead of where the market is going. If it's dipping, you're getting ready to get it when it comes back. Now you have to deal with the reality of today's market while you're planning to take advantage of tomorrow's market, and it always goes up and down. Buyer market, seller market, buyer market, seller market. It's the history of real estate. Almost never a stable time of any kind. There was a 5-year run in the 2000s about a seller's market, but there was lots of inventory being built, and so it ended up being kind of one of these balanced markets that just soared to the top over 5 years and then crashed, as we know. So the point is listing, and then what we're really talking about today, and I want to get our minds ahead of this, is it's about leverage. How do you get more done through other people? That's what it means. That's what leverage means. How do you get more done through other people, with other people? not just through them, with them. Okay? And so there's a way you think. And the way it goes, so we say, first you think $1 million, which you think big. Second, you go earn it. You grow your business to where that's your income, your gross income, GCI. And then you net that number, whatever that is, 200,000, 500,000, $1 million. And then you receive it, meaning it comes to you as passive business income without you having to show up and work for it. That's the path to the 7th level. Now, but it starts with think. I don't want to get wrong in this because it is how we think. Now, there's a bunch of how-tos, but we'll get into those, but there's also how you think. So let me take a little time to go through it. The first thing, you have to go through 2 transitions, actually 3. Okay, the first is I do it. This is where you have to, at some point, be or understand what it takes to be a solo producer, a salesperson, a make-it-happen, lead-generating, service-providing producer. You have to do that. And that's about 2 things, skills and habits. There's 3 skills. I'm going to write them down. It's just really interesting. That you have to master to be great at selling. Number 1, the skill of asking for business. It's a skill. Whether it's a marketing message that asks for business or makes an offer that gets responses, or you're calling somebody to say, do you need to sell your home? Doesn't matter. So either way, marketing or prospecting, but it's learning how to ask for business and do it effectively. Scripts and dialogues. It's a skill-based job. It isn't about anything else. It's not personality. Although some people are bolder than others, but that may not be personality. It may be their courage. Right? Maybe more courage and character than it is personality. The second skill is the skill of making effective presentations. Because whether you're talking with a person about listing their home with you or a buyer about signing a buyer rep agreement with you, you are making a presentation. It involves, of course, questions, getting their interest, getting their attention, building rapport, having them understand how powerful you are and how you get them do, and then having them realize in a sense of urgency that they really should sign on with you now, and then getting the signature, right? So there's a flow. I learned when I first came into selling, that's the thing that blew me away, was there was really a process for selling. I didn't know that it was a profession and a system and a process. So you master that presentation. And then the third thing is effective win-win negotiations. The skill of getting the meeting of the minds, agreement of contending or counteracting parties, including other agents in the deal. So you become the catalyst. You become the one that makes things come together and happen and people feel good about it. That's a whole set of skills. So those 3 skills, those 3 skill categories, you will have to master. And then there'll be some others, but this is the idea. Then you turn those into habits. This is where they're reflexes. It's just, this is what I do. Every day, this is my rhythm. Every listing I have, this is what I know I do. Every So you have the skill. Now you get really good at doing a lot more with that skill by making things move quickly because it's a habit. And you get the power of doing things over and over. Write this phrase down. Repetition is the mother of skill. Repetition is the mother of skill. Richard, if you're learning how to do magic tricks that surprise people, does that take some repetition? Over and over. In front of the mirror, by yourself, getting it right, until you get all that holly-golly down. All of a sudden you do things people just don't know how that was done. But the repetition builds the skill. So do it. So I do it. That's step number 1. Now you have to make, and for many of us, this is so. But it's important to master that first step because you're going to teach and guide others to be good at those skills and habits. Right. So it helps if you've mastered those first. Doesn't necessarily mean you can't coach somebody that does things that you didn't do. That's possible, but it's a strength. So it's better if you do it. So then I do it. Then the second one is we do it. Okay, here we are. That's the next step. That's what really the core of what we're talking about today. Team building. Now I'm gathering around me a team of people to serve my clients and to get my business done, each part of it, and we're all working with two things, systems and synergy. That's the important thing. Now we've taken the skill and turned it into a system. Now, this is the way we market. This is, our mailers go out like this. We have an 8x8, we have a 33 touch. These are now systems. This is what happens when we first meet somebody. This is how we build a file. This is how we build a listing file, the buyer file. This is how we help a buyer make decisions. We use these forms, we ask these questions, we write these answers down. So we have a system for how things work. I mean, when Linda McKissick was doing 300 deals a year, she could come in and when there was a problem with any transaction, and she was being called in as the owner leader, and she could pull that file out, and she said, in 5 minutes I knew that whole transaction. Why? That file was the same as every other file in her whole office. That every piece of paper, the initial listing agreement, the answers to the initial questions asked by the listing specialist or the buyer specialist, any correspondence, the progress of the transaction tracking form, all that stuff was sitting there in like a 6-part folder, file, and she just pulled it out. And her people operated. Now here's the neat flip on it, is to add this in the end. You know what her marketing message was after 6 years? Our systems are your solution. Wow. The Linda McKissick group, or the McKissick, not Linda. Linda was taken off. That's typically the evidence. First it's Linda McKissick, and then it's the Linda McKissick team, and then it's the McKissick group. So now there's not a sense of this is one individual, although it has a name, so it makes it personal. That's important. So their motto was, our systems are your solution. And you go, wow, what a thing to market. Well, that was because they had powerful systems. And then synergy, and here's what synergy means. Everyone knows their role, and they know how to work together. They know how people get handed off to them. They always make the other person look good. They always welcome the client. They stay in touch with any issues that are going on. And there's this real sense of divide and conquer, right? It's that we divvy up the roles, we each do what we're best at, and we know each other's roles, and we work really effectively together. And if there's any issue about that, we come together to decide, okay, how are we going to handle this? Right? We're having a little rub in the team, how are we going to handle this? So there's that sense of building that teamwork and synergy. And I want you to, right after synergy, I want feels really good. That's important. There's a feeling dimension to synergy. That's why working on a mega agent team can be much more satisfying in real estate than working on your own. Because you are part of a team. You feel that energy and synergy. You show up together, you high-five together, you do problems together, and you just feel, family is an overstatement often used, so you be careful about that. It's not social. You just feel like a really tight championship team. That's kind of what it feels like. That's synergy. We won the, high fives. We won the championship. So it's I do it, we do it, and now the next transition, and this is a big one, is the one into ownership, and that's they do it. And it's not, you need to understand, there's a mental set of this. It's not, it's my business and they do it. You understand? But see, a lot of people have that view of ownership. No, it's, I own this business and they do it. Thank you, Lord. Right? Because their work is driving profits to you. So it's important. That's the same way I feel about delegation. You don't delegate things down. You hand things up. You take a task that's important, one of those 172, and you hand it to somebody who's better at it than you. You hand it up to them. I need you, because you really know how to do this, to really build our transaction file system. Because I wouldn't give it to me. Right? It's that kind of, but it's them understanding the power that they have on the team. So it's that, it feels good. So then as they do it, and what that means is there's really those two things that now, what started out as skill and became systems now become a standard. Right down under the word standard, ops manual. Now I have, not to get bureaucratic or legalistic, but if you have an ops manual, it says this is how we do things on this team. This is our standard of performance. This is how we train, this is how we learn, this is how we track our quality, this is how we deal with our customers. And so in every step, all of the 172 tasks now start to get enumerated with the steps. This is how you do the file system. This is how you do a CMA. You know, and one of the early things I'll just say to this, when you hire your first assistant, that's a big key step. We're going to spend a little more time on that one. When you hire your first key assistant, first assistant is a key move for you. One of their tasks will be to document what you do. Write that down. My first assistant, one of their key tasks will be to document what you do. They will start to write down what they see you doing, or you will brainstorm with them. By the way, here's what I like to do when I prepare for a listing appointment. Here's what I do, and then they write it down. See, because most of us are bright mentally, we're quick, and we're verbal. Writing things down bugs us. It's too slow, and some of us can't spell. You know, so that's right. We love spell check. Don't worry, that's it. So here's the thing to remember. One of their jobs will be to start to systematize your business. That's really important. And they will start to keep track of the way you want things done. And you will take the time to do it. I tell you what, I made this massive aha 3 weeks ago, almost a month ago, with an agent that I was coaching. And they were talking about their first assistant, and they said, you know, one of the things is, you know, I'm out going to listing appointments and going around, and you know, and then when I get back to the office, they're gone, and you know, that idea of how do we stay in communication? I said, bring them with you. What? Bring them with you. Have them in the car next to you. Well, why? Well, because first of all, you're going to talk. There's nothing better than windshield time. So you're going to be brainstorming with them, and they're going to be taking notes while you're going from one. And it can be a note on this next listing, or a follow-up. By the way, they're going to be there while you're making promises that then you forget to go have somebody do. That ever happen to you? Yeah, because we're people pleasers, and we're positive people, and we tend to say things we don't even know what we're saying. So therefore, but they're expecting us now to get back to them tomorrow with that answer, and we kind of forgot, you know, and so they remind us, and then we go, oh, gee, you know, got so much on my plate. Boy, they don't need to hear that, do they? No, they don't. They don't need to hear your excuses. So the thing is, if you've got your assistant with you, right at the front end, when you're trying to maximize your productivity, see, you're not trying to build administrative practices back at a corporate headquarters. You're trying to get things done. So have them with you. Dictate things to them. You know, brainstorm together. Have them write things down. Have them ask you questions. And then they show up on a listing appointment. That's even more important. Hi, this is Dave Jenks. I'd like you to meet my listing specialist, who will be, in addition to me, I'm always available, but they will be the one who is just watching your transaction all the way through. So you can get an answer from her or me, you know, or him or me. But so the point is that you're starting to blend them in your business. But here's the thing: they start to see how you talk about the service you provide, and all of a sudden they're getting your vision much more than they would if you just went back and had, oh, I'm going to have a little vision meeting with my team. You know, I'm going to tell you what my vision is. You know, no, let them hear your vision as you're delivering it to the people you really are motivated to deliver it to, the one who's going to list their $1 million home with you. Right? So that's really good early on. Now that doesn't mean they stay attached to you that way forever. But it means at the front end, it's a great way to build the learning curve, the relationship. And then, of course, if there's something you're doing and they don't need to be in there with you, then they're on the phone making things happen. Right? They're just getting things done. Or they've got their computer with them, all this stuff. It's so, you know, it's so easy to be mobile nowadays. So I'm just saying that because that's how you build your standards. And then accountability, and put a big spot on accountability, because accountability is the key to business ownership. But so many people miss the idea of what accountability is. They think it's criticizing people, finding what they did wrong. Because you always know that. I like to hold people accountable. Sound like the principal. You know, sound like the boss. I will tell you this. Here's a mental image I want you to have in your mind. Do not think like a boss, think like a coach. When you're leading a team, do not think like a boss. Because one of the reasons you're in real estate is because you hate bosses. Right? No, you really, you get, maybe you've left corporate America, maybe you've left something, and you just go, man, I hate working for somebody that doesn't, that's egocentric and doesn't know what they're doing, he's always, CYA and blaming you and, all that stuff, goes on. So we love real estate because we're independent, that's why we're happy we don't have a boss. Now the problem is that we then, when we become the boss, we start to act like the worst boss we ever knew. And we have to overcome that. So I want you to think of yourself as a coach. If you have any role model in your mind of what it's like to watch a great coach like a John Wooden or a Phil Jackson or just the great coaches that exist in the world of professional athletics, particularly college sports. It's more college sports. Because in college sports you need to recruit and train, motivate, and get performance from a team, right? That's, coaching in college is really kind of, because you got the recruiting element, right? You want to get talent on the team. So you've got that. So think like a college coach. And you also find that you tend to then encourage people and show them how to do things better and reward them for improvement rather than correcting and criticizing and getting angry. You understand? It's a different mind switch. So accountability is a positive process. I want you to write this down under it. Accountability is a positive process that improves productivity and personal fulfillment. So accountability is a process that improves productivity and personal satisfaction. In other words, that's the nature of it. Why does it improve personal satisfaction? Well, people love getting better at things. So when you coach them in a way that gets them better and then reward them for, wow, I see that you just did that better than you've ever done it, or wow, what a great, you're a quick study. You say something like that and lifts people up. Now they go to their highest level. Otherwise, if you're doing the typical accountability, call them on the carpet type accountability, why didn't this get done, they meet your numbers, that kind of thing, they want to avoid you because you're the autocrat. So I say that because it's one of those subtle things that people misunderstand. Accountability is simply reviewing with people what they were trying to do, how it worked out, what they're going to do now. That's it. It's really that simple. That's it. But it's the idea that on a regular basis you are inspecting what you expect, and you're encouraging better performance and showing them. So remember, this is the transition, and I put them up here. They're simple words, but they're not simple. This is a process. It's a skill-building opportunity for you when you move from I do it to we do it to they do it. And the ownership thing, we'll cover that at the very end today. That's a little more subtle about how you really do it when you're not there every day. All right, so the next thing is, just remember this. There's always a process for a way a business person thinks. And here's the way they think. This is just the way they think. The first thing they say is, what needs to get done? Okay. Now, the other thing they say is, what are we trying to do? So it's kind of, we call it outcome focus. The outcome focus. The way Stephen Covey said was, begin with the end in mind. Right. So that's what do we need to do to get to that end. That's always important. Leaders always are identifying the what, not the what nots, right? Not the what do we want to avoid. No, it's the what's. It's the intention. Number two is they say, why would that be important? So they always ask this for themselves. Well, why would it be important for us to do that? Well, clients really like to be treated that way. Clients like to know that we're in touch with them. Clients like to know when we're going to call them. Right? Whatever it is you're talking about, say, okay, all right, now we know the reason. See, it's important to know the reasons for your what's. And then we say how. Okay, how's the best way to do it? That's the question. How is the best way to get this done? How will we learn that? How will we improve it? How will that get delivered? Right? So that's the training part. This is where you go get training. You get training on the how. You personally develop the what. You explore the why, and you train for the how. And then you say when, and that's getting it on the calendar. You do not have goals until they're on the calendar. Goals are, now we talked about this in Zen and the Art of Making Things Happen last time I was here. So I want to just say that it's very important to understand that putting times on your calendar, times when we call back sellers every Friday afternoon, 1 to 4, that kind of thing. It's on a rhythm. With time, we have our accountability meetings. You build a rhythm. Write this down. Build a rhythm in your business by setting critical dates on the calendar. It's a rhythm. So this is when we have our team meeting. This is when we review our monthly financials. You know, the 5th working day of every month. We review the financials. This is the day of the week I work on my business for 2 hours. And we start to build a calendar that's not as our farm mailing. 3 days after we take a listing or maybe it's once a week, we send out the just listed, just sold cards. Every Wednesday is just listed, just sold. Anything that we listed that week, that goes out. Everything we bought or we sold that week, we send that out. So those become the rhythm of your business. So that's the when. And then the who is, who's going to do this? Who is going to do this? Who owns it? Write that down. That's what, you see, leaders and business leaders love the word ownership because it means there's an emotional commitment. If I own a mega real estate team, I have a commitment to it. And that's why we want to sign agreements with people, because it adds commitment. That's why we sign listing agreements, and we should be signing buyer rep agreements because it adds commitment. It doesn't matter whether we ever enforce it or not. You know what I mean? Like, oh, wait a minute, you bought with somebody else, you bought it, and you didn't use me, and you said you would, and you can, but it's really to build commitment in the sense of, no, that I've agreed to that. So the point is that who owns it? That's the thing. Who owns this task? Who owns this outcome? And ultimately, of course, as the owner-leader, you own it, but you want other people to own it. You want them to feel that ownership. All right, the next thing is, here are the 3 big questions. They work like this. How can I be more productive? One of the things, of course, that it's fun to see how things evolve. Gary's most recent book, which, by the way, 2 days ago was number 19 in all of Amazon. Whoa, that's big. Anytime you get in Amazon's top 100, with all the books that are coming out and that they're marketing, it's amazing. So, number 19, and it's for the last 3 days since it was released. It's been in the top 100. It's floated up and down because those top 100 flex a lot, right? Every hour they change them depending on current sales. So you can drop from 19 to 41 to 96 to 50. They've kind of been moving up and down, so it's kind of fun to go see what it's doing. But that's really amazing, and it was number 6 on the Wall Street Journal list of best-selling books last week. So that's big, and that was pre-sale. That was before the actual release on April 1st. So the reason I bring this up is because, see, all of wisdom evolves. So this book contains 4 of the 6 personal perspectives that he and I invented back in 1997. So Gary asked great questions. That's one of the things he says in here. You get great answers when you ask great questions. And he said the question he asked me was that they said, Dave, let me ask you this. We've both been in real estate a long time. We've worked with a lot of top agents. We've seen a lot of agents that didn't do so well. So what are the characteristics of the agents who do the best? And we developed 6. And we called them, these are the 6 personal perspectives. This is how they think and act. And they're unique. These 6 are unique. Well, 4 of them are in here. And they're so beautifully put together. Plus, and one of them is the one that this book is written on, the one thing. And that's about the power of focus. Right? Focus on the 20%. Now, he didn't emphasize the 20% as much because that's in other books. So he called it the one thing, which is great because he loves that quote from City Slickers, the movie City Slickers. And it really is the way to say it. What's the one thing? See, I mean, that's the way people say it. They go, well, what's the one thing I should do? What's the one thing that would make my business better? What's the one thing that would improve my marriage? What's the one thing that would, help my kids in school? It's always that one thing is really great. So it's but here's the thing, that wisdom evolved over time into this book. It will be an all-time bestseller. It'll be up in that category. Perhaps even, like a Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That kind of, I believe it's got that classic lasting power to it. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm saying it because I recommend that you get it, and then there's an opportunity because, Debbie, when's the meeting in Carlsbad?
It's next Thursday the 11th.
Next Thursday the 11th in Carlsbad. Jay Papasan, who's the co-author of this, is going to be doing a 4-hour presentation on the book. What's in it, why it's important, how they wrote it.
and kind of a great way. And I think many of us are verbal learners. You know, we learn that way. It's kind of the other channel that we really like, as opposed to necessarily reading a lot of things, although we can. So it's a great thing. I would recommend going to it. Take a day, go there. We got a group of people that are coming from here. And Jay is a great presenter. He really is. He's just matured into this wonderful presenter. So anyway, I say this because if I had a library of 3 books that were kind of the guide to my career, here they would be. These 3, right? Philosophically and personally, I would just get really in tune with the message that's in the one thing, because it really talks about like making truly the most out of your life. It's not preachy, not at all. It's very pragmatic, very open to you making choices, but it's pragmatic. It's a great guide, and it's as good a book for high achievers that I've ever seen or read, and I've read a ton of them. That's what my life has been. Number 2 is, of course, what we're doing today. This is the path to building your real estate team, right? So that's in your business. But we took a different tack in this Shift. And Shift is a book written for any market. We wrote it at a time when the market was down, so we called it, Tough Tactics for Tough Times, or 12 Tactics for Tough Times. But it really is the tactics for all times. And it's how to price it right, and how to show it right, and how to get buyers motivated, and how to lead generate, and how to use the internet. A lot of things in much more detail with scripts and dialogues than we put in this book. This book's strategic. This book is tactical. This book is personal. Now, that would be my little 3-part library. And if I was a buyer specialist, the one book I would really have is this one, Your First Home. It's the least selling of all our books, and yet the most powerful for the consumer. It's amazing. I mean, I would give this to all my buyers. It is a guide to how to buy a home. And in it, it talks about why you use an agent and why you get that agent early, not later. While you're searching, while you're just thinking, you might be 6 months, a year away, get your agent in place. And what it does is, in here, it gives you the third-party endorsement of how to do what you know you want to do. So in here it tells people why they should sign a buyer rep agreement. It tells them what the advantages to them as a buyer are to have, and the kind of things they should expect of the agent that they work with, or they should use as a criteria to choose them. So you would live up to those criteria. So it gives you, and why they should buy instead of rent, and why real estate's a great investment. And there's all of this, but it's done in this story format. We wanted to make it read like a love story. So every chapter leads in with each of our personal stories about our first home. And it's about 1.5 pages for each of us. And it's very touching what our first home meant to each of us, who were the authors and the leaders of Keller Williams. So it has that personal touch. And then, of course, it gets right into the heart and meat and solid of the process of buying and owning real estate. So I would just use, I say that because it's a great tool. I'm not here hawking books. Oh yes, I am. Once you're a salesperson, always a salesperson. I'm sorry, can't help it. But what I really am, I'm guiding you as to where sources of information that will make you money are. That's where they are, okay? So you build in so the question is, how can I be more productive? And what you want to do is you want to say, what's the one thing I could do that would make me get more business done in less time? Because here's the point, and write this down. Adding more time to your work schedule is the wrong answer. Adding more time to your work schedule is the wrong answer, I promise you. Gary calls it cheating, but I think it's just the wrong answer. So you pick whatever your work ethic tells you is the time you want to devote to your business. That would be one of your early choices. And then limit your business to that time. I don't care if it's 40, 50, 60 hours. Get more than 60. And there are people, by the way, who come into real estate, say out of the food service industry, out of running restaurants and that. 70, 80-hour weeks is like a piece of cake. That's what they're used to. right? So they come in here and they put in 60, 70 hours a week, and it's just like, wow, this is even less than I was putting in that. So it doesn't have to be that. And we do believe in a balanced life, but you're going to make the decision of what that is for you. If you're a high achiever, there may be times when it's worth putting in the 60-hour weeks for an intensive period of time to really get your momentum cranked. But the question is, how do I use that time? That's the question. How do I use that time? And I want to be more productive. So the second one is really the key answer. Put a star by it, because this is the number. When I was coaching actively, I coach a few business-oriented people right now, including real estate agents, but very selective because I have different intentions in my life right now, which is at this stage of it to just absolutely do nothing except for joy, or to deal with my curiosity. I'm a massively curious person, so if I want to read about something or watch TED.com or something, I'm going to be investigating things, because I don't need to get paid for any of this. And the third one is to work with people I love. So those are my three priorities right now at this stage of my life. So the question though is, how do I earn more dollars per hour? So for whatever those hours are I'm going to devote, how can I keep increasing how much I get paid? It's like getting a salary increase, except you're giving it to yourself. And the way you do this is just, and this is that, remember, feedback is the breakfast of champions, and accountability means keep track and feed it back. So all you do is keep track. And here's what you keep track of. How many hours you work every day. So every day at the end of the day, just in your pad, notepad, or on your iPhone, or whatever you do, just keep a little running track of how many hours was I in the business today. Okay, and just use your own standard. I don't care what it is. Use your own standard, whatever it is, whatever you consider when you're in the game of working. If you want to include drive time, okay, include drive time. I wouldn't include just at home time because you're picking up the phone every once in a while. Wouldn't include all that. But maybe when you're on the phone. Okay? So you have to pick what your standard is. I'm not trying to say what there is one, but it means that you're really actively engaged in the business. So keep track of that time every day and then add it up for the month. And then, this is really important skill to have, keep track of your money. So now for the month, keep track of your four numbers. This is the simple form of financial management. Now, becoming good at financial management is something you will evolve as a business person. But every month you keep track of your total GCI, how much money came in from all of the sales that closed that month. That's called GCI, gross commission, what the consumer paid on your side of the transaction, before splits or anything else. Now, cost of sale. How much did I pay other people? My market center, Keller Williams, my company, whatever it was. Or, and this gets to the advanced part, if I have buyer's agents, if I pay anyone else on my team who is actually doing sales activity, buyer's agents, listing specialists, they count in your cost of sale. I don't want to get technical on that, but we've done a lot of work on how to keep track of our money the same way so we understand it as agents, right? And that's in the back of the book. It's a chart of accounts. The third one is expenses. So all of my business expenses. And be really honest with yourself about business. I mean, so it's the part of your car expense that you actually get to write off with the IRS for business, or meals, or whatever that so whatever you would count as a business expense for the IRS, put that in, plus your administrative staff, and marketing, and the technology, anything that you're counting as a business expense. Okay, that's it. And then, of course, you subtract that, and now you come down with your net. You put a little star by net. So net income. This is your net income, pre-tax. This would be like if you had a real job. What's your salary? Say, oh, I work for IBM and I make $80,000 a year. Okay, well, is that before taxes? No, I tax it, of course. But my salary is $80,000. So that's what this is. Now, taxes and how you use that personal discretionary money is a whole different issue. I don't want to get into it here. But that's your net income. That's your net income. So now you divide your net income by the number of hours you worked that month. And now you have $1 per hour. That is a great number to track. In the Millionaire Real Estate Investor, we said there's one number to track. If you track this one number in your life, it will improve, and that is net worth. What you own minus what you owe. Right? The value of what you own minus the value of what you, or the cost or the expense of what you owe. That creates your net worth. And even with people for whom that's a negative number, it's important to track it because you can watch it become less negative. Like when Mo Anderson joined Keller Williams, she was $700,000 negative. Her net worth was minus $700,000. She and her husband Richard had lost all their money, all their savings and assets in the late 80s demise of Oklahoma with oil, banking, and real estate. They thought they were diversified. And they invested in all three of those, and they all went down at once. And of course, they went upside down, and they chose never to give properties back or declare bankruptcy or anything. So they paid off all those debts. Good for them. That's most ethics and standards. But the point is that she started negative, and of course now she's massively multi-million-dollar positive. So the point is, keep track of that number. That's a good number. Now divide it. Now here's the thing I want you to write down. I want you to write down a little formula I discovered over the years. Write 30-300-3000. Just write that little formula. Here's what I found. Most top producers in real estate who are netting 70 to 150,000 and working pretty much by themselves. They might have one part-time admin. They're typically making $30 an hour. And they're yet in the top 5% of the real estate industry. But they're making $30 an hour. Now I don't want to tell you what the average person in real estate is making per hour, because we're not average. We don't want to be average, and averages don't matter to us. What we're looking for is the opportunity. And so it's 30, but anyway, so you're in the tens of dollars, 30, 40, 50, $60 an hour. That would be what you're probably making there. Now when you really get leverage and massively lead generate for listings, you can be like a Marsha Bain. 40 hours a week, 40 weeks a year, 120 sales a year. That's her formula. 40, 40, 120. 40 hours a week, 40 weeks a year, 120 sales a year. All listings, all sellers. She refers out her buyers. She's got to make more money referring a buyer in 10 minutes than I'll ever work working with a buyer. That's why mega agents build buyer agent teams, so the buyer agent can make the money, and then some of it will come to the team. Just smart. So anyway, so she makes about $300 an hour, $300 an hour, $300 to $400 an hour. So that's the second. So if you get leverage and you're focused on lead generation, you can get yourself up in the hundreds of dollars an hour. Linda McKissick makes $3,000 an hour, right? She works 5 hours a week in her business and makes about $400,000 a year. And so that calculates out to about $3,000 an hour. So you see how that goes? I do it, $30 an hour. We do it, $300 an hour. They do it, $3,000 an hour. See how that goes? So it's a fun number to track. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's just a fun number to track. And there's three things that are fun about this. Three things that are really kind of fun about this. Number one is you keep track of your time. That's a precious thing most people don't. You really know where you're spending your time. As you start to keep track of how much time I spent in my business, you might even then start to keep track of what you were doing with that time. Right? You might say, here was my lead generation time, here's how much was admin, here's how much were meetings, you may start to do that just because you're keeping track of it. So it'd be easy to categorize it into three categories. Direct customer contact, lead generation, and the rest. You could either do that. I just do three categories of how I spend my time. That's okay. And the second thing is, you're starting now to keep track of your money. And it's not in detail. It's not like I have this massive budget and all that stuff, not following the chart of accounts. I'm just keeping track on a monthly basis. Gross revenue, cost of sale, expenses, and my net. Now I'm watching my financials. And the third thing that's fun about this, you take a day off, the dollars per hour goes up. Isn't that fun? You get rewarded for time off. No, I think if you build a little tracking system that rewards you for doing things that are healthy for yourself, that's a neat thing, right? Okay, so, and then this is a big one. Put a star by it. Who can I get to do it? See, I had this massive aha a year and a half ago. I rented a bike when we were visiting my wife's retired parents down in Florida, and because I wanted to get some exercise, and so I rented a bike down there, and I was riding back to the house, about 8 miles, and I'm coming down this area, and this guy was walking on the sidewalk, coming toward me, and I was on the sidewalk because there wasn't much room on the road. It was a tight little road, no shoulder, so I was on the sidewalk. And he was coming at me, saying, so I swung off into the road, and he got past me, and I swung back to the sidewalk, and the sidewalk had a lip on it I didn't see about like that. And I was coming at it at an angle, so I kept going this way, and the bike decided to go, the way it got bounced. And I went down, and for some reason, as you do, reflexes are the wrong thing. When you fall, don't put your hands out in front of you. You'll break your collarbone, your wrist, your forearm, right? And don't put your knee as the first thing for you to hit when you're falling off a bike. But my reflex was there, and my knee just banged into the sidewalk. Cut it, started bleeding. But it was like a little sore, didn't feel bad. And I drove back, but the point was, I had broken my patella bone, right, my kneecap.
Oh,
we went to the doctor, and we saw there's a big wedge out of it, just cracked. Not even a crack, separated. So anyway, point was, I wasn't going to be riding the bike anymore, so we had the bike 8 miles away from the place I rented it from. And so it came to be the day before we were leaving home, and I said, I got to get the bike back over there. And Roy said, okay. And so I went out of the car and put the bike in the car, and of course it didn't fit in the trunk, so I had to try and jury rig a rope to hold it down on the bike and all that stuff. And she came down to drive. I couldn't drive. I had this cast on. So we started out, and she said, wouldn't they have come and picked it up? Hello? I get on myself, say, hi, this is Dave. I fell off your bike riding it, broke my kneecap. I can't return it. Can you pick it up? Oh, yes, Mr. Jenks. We'll come by. Where do we want to pick it up, right? Don't have your attorney call us, please. And so here was the thing, though. Lori and I had this wonderful discussion afterward. I'm an achiever. She's an entrepreneur. Because as an achiever, I say, what needs to get done and when can I do it? Right? That's always been my attack mode. Ownership and action. That's me. Right? She's always been a business owner. Who can I get to do it? So start asking yourself that question. If it needs to get done, who can I get to do it? Here's another one to put with it. Who would be best to do it? Because now you're adding in talent and skill and position. Who would be best to do this? And of course, many times, it'll be you. It'll come back to you. You say, well, I guess it'll be me, right? Okay, the bathroom needs to be cleaned. Who's going to clean the bathroom tonight? Right, in my business. Because we need to have it looking good for the people that are showing up tomorrow morning. Okay, no one else is here. Don't have any call. I guess I'm going to do it, right? So as an owner, you do whatever it takes. But you're the person of last resort. Who can I get to do it? Great question to ask yourself. Who can I get to do it? Or who could I bring onto my team to do it? Because you always want to drive your success through other people. Write that down. You always want to drive your success through other people. They win, you win. That's what an owner does. Drives their success through other people. They're not using other people, not in a bad sense. They're not manipulating other people. They're not enslaving other people. They're giving other people opportunities. Gary Keller has created a ton of rich, high-earning, happy, successful, creative people in his company. I mean, just you can't tell. I can't tell you how many people he's turned into a millionaire in his company. Now, they all benefited him. As he said, I'm just a mega agent with 72,000 buyer agents. Isn't that funny? I mean, that's how he looks at himself. I'm just a mega agent with like a really big team. 1,000 admins and 70,000 buyers agents. But what he means is he's built a company, and in the end, he gets paid a lot of money, but he doesn't use people, he builds opportunity for them. So, who can I get to do it? That's the enabling question. Now, here's the thing to remember, and we're going to finish and take a break and come back, and then we'll be done by noon. And that is, this is research we noted, and that is, in 1994, a test done, when tested in national surveys against seemingly crucial factors like intelligence, ability, and salary, The level of motivation proves to be, listen to this, the level of motivation proves to be a more significant component in predicting success, career success. While the level of motivation is highly correlated with success, the sources of the motivation vary greatly among individuals. So here's the deal. It doesn't matter what motivates you, it matters that you're motivated. So that's an important aha. Everyone's motives may be different. What I want to use money for may be different from what you want to use money for. Both of us being real clear about what the money will mean in our lives makes us proactive, right? And other things, it's not just about the money. So, that's why we say develop your biggest why. Not the big why, like there's just one, although for some people, they become a big why. There is one. I mean, Gary Keller was to build the greatest real estate company in the history of real estate. It clearly is. Clearly is. And probably number two is, build great wealth and security for my family. I would say those would probably, now he wouldn't maybe say that to you, but I've watched him, third would be to be the best he can be, which is right at the top here. He really does have a self-development, self-improvement, get better at everything, everything that matters, not everything that matters. So I would just say take time, right next to this slide, just write, take time to really be in touch with your own motives. To say, why would this be important to me? Why would it be important to me to double my income? Why would it be important to me to have more freedom of time from the business of real estate? What would it mean to me to build something that down the road would generate passive income that would fund other ventures? My child's education, my grandchildren's education, trips around the world, whatever it is, to fund my passions and my purpose. What would that be like? And why would it be important? And you'll find that's why this is stacked like this. Some of your motives are very simplistic. It's like to pay for the house, to buy a new car, to buy better clothes. I mean, there's nothing wrong with really pragmatic, self-interested things. It isn't. But up at the top, you will find your whys will grow over time. Bill Gates, I don't know what it was, to build a great software program, all of a sudden to have more and more people using a software program, all of a sudden to be the best software company in the history of, of the world, and then maybe to just be one of the greatest businesses ever run. And now it's to do the Gates Foundation and solve hunger and health around the world. Billions of dollars, his and Warren Buffett's, combined together, going doing great things. So your big why can change over time. But the point is, what we found is that business people who are high achievers really spend time on getting in touch with their inner self and their real motives. What matters, because that will drive the energy to answer all the other questions and take the actions it takes to do that. Okay, when we come back, I want to hit really lightly on this thought process, and then we're going to get into the details of how you hire great people, how you do it a stage at a time, and how you turn that into a productive team at the highest level. Okay? So, 10 minutes, that means that 10:40, we're back. He's the agent that serves them, but the system and the process they're using and the intelligence they have to get that service delivered. So we call it in the book fiduciary service. There's a wonderful page in the book on, I think it's 96. It's on fiduciary versus functionary service. You see a lot of agents being functionary, but fiduciary is where you take on the responsibility for the best benefit of the client, and you do what it takes to get that done. So service. But then the next one up is standard. So because you see, that's where you've taken service and now you've got it systematized and documented. So this is how we deliver service. We know the process. This isn't iffy. Everyone who comes and does a transaction with us, this is how it gets handled. Right? We know all the key moments in a transaction. And we show up at the key moments and get the right things delivered. So we have standards, and people are held accountable and adhere to the standards that are in the business. Number two is we think competitively. Now understand that every profession that is an entrepreneurial profession has more people in it than are needed. There are more licensed real estate agents that we need. And if you look around the industry, you'll see. I mean, the average, even of producing agents, the average is only typically about 5 or 6 transactions a year. It's very small. Or that's for licensed members of NAR. But what we know is that the top 10% of agents really do it well and earn a living at it, and the top 5 or the top 1%, we're talking about really turn it into a business. So you have to think competitively. How can I get business better than anyone else who's in the real estate business? It's like if I'm an athlete, I say, how can I win the gold medal? That means no one else is going to win the gold medal. So I'm competitive. Now, it doesn't mean I wish them ill. It means I intend to get the gold medal. And you intend to build the biggest team you can with your people making the most money per hour they can make on your team. And if that takes business away from someone else, oh, that's their issue, not mine. Do you understand? Competitiveness does not mean wanting bad things for other people. It means getting your good things in a world of limited opportunity. Now, it's actually unlimited, but it's limited in the sense that you just can't divvy it up to everyone evenly. It's not how life works. It isn't even how it's meant to work, because there should be a reward system for those who do it better. It's called the 20-80 rule. 20% of the people will do 80% of the business. Why? Because the world's unfair? No. Because the world rewards better behavior. Hello? It's like gravity. You know, the 20-80 rule in business is like the gravity in the physical universe. It's just a rule. It just happens. Society over society, everywhere. Even the socialistic, communistic companies that try and go to everyone, you know, from each according to their ability, to each according to their need, all that kind of, you know, spread the wealth kind of thing. In those societies, it's 20-80. It's just that the 20 are the politically connected. Do you understand? Not the productively connected. So it's how it works. So think competitively, be competitive, beat out the other guy for the job. Want to figure out how to do it better. Number 6, think progress, and this is important for us, those of us who are perfectionists. This is not a game of perfect. Do not be a perfectionist. Perfectionist gets in your way. You're always criticizing yourself for what you didn't do, what you could have done better, what should have happened. There's no shoulda, coulda, wouldas in an achiever's mind. There's the want tos and what did I learn. There's what did I want, how did it turn out, what did I learn. That's what the process is. So one of our millionaire agents, Tim Wood, from Big Bear, California, said, there is no failure. There is no failure. There is only success or learning. Or it turns out the way you want, or you learn. That's great. Either one's fine. Think without fear. That just means don't let fear be in your way. In fact, we say let fear be your compass. If you're afraid to do something, it only is because you want to do that. You care about the outcome. Because the reason you're afraid to call it for sale by owner is they might hang up on you or say no. The reason you're afraid to push somebody to sign the agreement is because they might not do it and they might say no. You're always afraid, you're always thinking, the reason you're afraid is because you don't want it to turn out differently, but the only way you'll make it turn out differently is what? Get past the fear and just do it anyway, right? So it's important to understand that fear is your compass, not your barrier. That's important. It just is. If I fear it, it means I'm meant to do it. All right, then think action, and that is, this is an action-oriented business. It's who we call, it's how many calls we make, who we talk to, how many mailers go out, how many just listed, just sold cards go out, how much it's activity. This is a business of action. And time is of the essence. Acting now, not putting things off. Procrastination kills any attempt to build new things. It just does. So when you find yourself putting things off, then you've got to find a way to overcome that, and not have it be true. But most of us in this room are action-oriented. Fear may be the only thing that slows us down sometimes. And then think possibilities, not perfection, and not problems. Okay, possibilities, not problems. See the way you want it to happen, not the way you don't. If you're hitting a golf shot, see the green, not the pond in front of it. Right? Now, because be aware of the outcome you want, not what could go wrong. And then finally, the top 2 is what we say. Big goals and big models empower you. We're delivering today to you a big model of having a big real estate business. You can move toward that model. It will inspire you. But here's the thing to remember. See, going for a big model, big goals and big models, means you do things differently right at the beginning. If you're wanting to turn this into a business, then you will start keeping track of your money right away, because businesses have to do that. But if you're not planning on business, then you kind of do the shoebox thing with receipts and all that stuff, and at the end of the year panic because you owe the IRS and you're going to go to jail. You know, that's just the nature of the game. Why? Because we don't do it systematically, we don't do it ahead of time, we don't do it when it needs to get done because we're not thinking business-like. So having business goals will have you do the right things early. Same thing with productivity. See, if you're not really caring about how much business you do, then you might take 3 hours to do a listing presentation and appointment. But if you're a producing lister, you'll take a half an hour or 45 minutes. Because you'll get it all done in that period of time. You'll get a pre-listing package out to them. You'll call them, tell them, make sure you glance over that. Any of your questions, have them ready. You get there, you're going to do the 1-minute listing presentation. Hi, my name's Dave. I'm with Keller Williams. Thanks for giving me a call. By the way, do you absolutely really need to have to sell your home? Yes, we do. Okay, number 2, you're willing to price it so it'll sell? Yeah, I guess we'll have to. 3, would you like me to handle the sale? Yeah, that's why you're here. Great. Let me just do the paperwork. You see? A 1-minute listing presentation. So that's what you want to do. You want to go for, now if there's something that needs to be covered, you'll cover it when you're doing the paperwork. If any of those answers are no to any of those questions, that's okay, it's just information. In other words, just if it's no to we don't need to sell, then you know you're dealing with motivation. You need to get them in touch with why it would be good for them to sell, or even if they need to. Right? You get that. Number 2 is if they say, well, we need to price when we need to get $250,000, and you know it's not worth that. Now you have an educational system. Now you got a challenge of education. And if they say, well, no, we're talking to 500 other agents, when you ask them, do you want me to handle the sale, then you know you're in a competitive situation and you're going to need to stand out from the crowd. Right? So all those answers, doesn't matter whether you get a yes or no, those answers tell you where you are. But you can do a listing presentation really quickly and get it done. And of course, when you have a team, then your team will come in later and do all the measurements and take the pictures and those sorts of things, and that's what you'll say to them. So you can do listing presentations really quickly. But the point is, you don't have to if you don't have big goals. But if you have big goals, you start to do things more productively and more efficiently. That's why the big goals are empowering. So, and then of course you're powered, we said it already, powered by big motives, powered by energy that tells you this is what it's going to look like when this happens. When I build a team, my life's going to look like this, and I really want that. Right? Okay. So now let's understand that we, just as a reminder, that we master lead generation. That's always the #1 priority in any business of any kind. We always say, in the book we say, every business has 2 businesses. One business is the technical service that you provide. It's the nature of or the product. The other is getting the opportunity to provide that. Lead generation, marketing, prospecting, getting clients, getting customers, keeping them, getting referral business, building it. Okay. Number 2 is, in real estate, it's getting contract for service, contract for hire. That's getting listings. Seller listings, #1. Buyer rep agreements, #2. And then finally, it's leverage. But you master each one of those first. You really don't jump to leverage. You know, you can move fast on this if you've done business and built businesses. That's why Lori has grown her team. Lori and Richard have grown their team so fast. If you would look at the history, where they are right now, with how much time, 2.5 years? 2.5 years, to be where they are and have the complexity and the quality of the team they have and the systems they have and, the size of it, you go, breathtaking. It is breathtaking. But why? They're business people. They've been in business before. They've lead generated before. They've hired people and talent before. They've kept clients and customers and satisfied them before. Yeah, in a whole different arena, but they've done it. So they know the process. So they're on an accelerated path. So you see a lot of business people that come in and do it. You can accelerate your own path, but make sure you master each of the steps as you go. That's all I want to say. That's what we said earlier, a little warning about don't try and skip steps. So leverage, let's talk leverage. That's what we're talking about, team building. Here's the first thing. The organizational model is really first thing, do all you can do, go as far as you can go, then bring somebody else on the team. So personal productivity, that's why I say your first assistant, have them drive around with you. Have them make you be more productive. Have them be there helping you get more done. You may be preparing a CMA because they haven't learned to do it yet. They'll watch you do it. They'll write down the steps for it. They'll learn how to do it. And they'd be like Russell Shaw, who has listing agents who go out on 2 to 3 appointments every day, and all their CMAs are done by one administrative assistant. She does 500-600 a year, CMAs. does the folder, does the file, does all that, gets it ready for him. The listing specialist just shows up, picks it up, goes to the appointment, all the package, the information on the property that they're looking at, you know, tax records, all that stuff, all packaged in together. So if that were you, see, here's the interesting thing. Here's the question to ask yourself. How productive could I be if I had the right systems and leverage? How productive could I personally be? This is before I start paying anybody else other than hired employed administrative staff. Well, you could be like Mike Mendoza. So in 2004, when I was interviewing him for a role model video we were doing of Mike Mendoza, that year, in 2004, Mike took 173 listings, himself, personally. 173 listings. And put 53 buyers under contract, himself, including showing them homes. Now, he had a team of admin, but the way he worked his team, he never really got our system. It's really interesting. There's a part of his own nature as a producer. He couldn't let go of being a producer. It's the game he loves, you know? So that's okay. See, you got choices. But he had administrative teams, closing coordinators, all that. So all of his paperwork and probably even some of his CMA stuff, although Mike just has this brilliant mind in real estate, it's almost like he could do them in his head, truthfully. It's like he knows every property in Ahwatukee that's ever sold and who bought it and what it sold for. I mean, he just retains it. So focused. And he's just a jock. Former Major League Baseball pitcher for the Houston Astros. I didn't think athletes were intelligent. Thought they were just physically adept, you know. He's got this, you know, this photographic memory for real estate. It's amazing. He's a powerhouse. But here's the thing. Think about that. One guy doing 170 plus listings and working with 53 buyers. That's productivity. So, by the way, I said, so Mike, how many days a week do you work? He went, all 7. And I went, well, isn't that a bit of a grind? And he went, it's not like going to a coal mine. So he combines his fun with his work. So he loves to play golf, does deals, you know, meets people. I've gone to a fundraising golf tournament once. He must have asked 20 people in my hearing distance when I was, well, when are you going to give me some business, huh? Right? Good old boy, politicking, connecting out there going, hey, when are you going to give me somebody that needs to sell their home? So he's always out prospecting. So the point was, he mastered leads, he mastered listings, and for him, leverage was about personal productivity. So how much can you do? That would be the first way to challenge yourself. I think one of the mistakes people make, I'll just say this is my own personal, is that they add on a buyer's agent before they've mastered working with buyers. That's one of those little stumbles. Because you should be so good at working with buyers, you're like Mike Mendoza. When I ask Mike Mendoza, from the time you meet somebody until the time they go under contract, how many hours do you spend with them? What do you thought about that thing? He said, 4 to 6. So he's getting a buyer under contract every 4 to 6 hours of face-to-face work. Is that productive? Yeah, we did a research thing amongst the top producers in all of Keller Williams, and the average was 12. So even there, that's pretty good. A lot of people take a lot more time than that. You know, and it's because he had a process and he had a system that meant they didn't want to go look at 40 homes. He was going to show them 4, and if they didn't buy one of those, they're going to have one more appointment with him and look at another 4, and one of those would be the one they bought. And he set up that expectation in their minds, so they did. So my point is, first question is, how productive can I be? How really productive? And let my first leverage make me more productive. That's why I said, take your assistant with you. You don't need them back at the office. Now, ultimately, they will. Here's what you want. Write this down. This is a great little phrase. Your first hire. You want an executive assistant. You want an executive assistant who will become your assistant executive. I want you to think about this. You want an assistant, you want an executive assistant. We call that, you know, the mind of a business person, the heart of a servant. That's kind of what you're looking for, someone who wants to take care of you. And that really means a lot to them. That's why they're high S, high Cs, they're not Ds. You know, they're not trying to be in charge. They love you being in charge, taking on all the challenges, taking on all the tough stuff. But they want to help you look good. That's their idea. And then, because they have the mind of an executive, and they want you to be successful, they then can build a team of other admins. See, they will lead a team. They will become your executive at-home headquarter type leader. And that's what you want. You want somebody that looks like that and can do that. But at first, they're your executive assistant. They're making you do well, look good, whatever that takes. Now, here's the thing to remember. There is a path to this game. That's what a Millionaire Real Estate Agent is about. It's about the path. We're building the map. And it's not like there's only one route, but there's a main route. And if you can stay on that main trail, path, toward that goal to the 7th level, you'll get there faster and more smoothly. You can invent your own path, and there's a lot of creativity in this business in the way you market, in the way you talk about yourself, your value proposition, your offerings. There's a lot of creativity in real estate, but it shouldn't be at the level of trying to do it a whole different way. Because you typically are going to go off track. That's what we've just found. When people try and pay the wrong way, or try and have people do multiple jobs. So I want them to be my admin, but they'd also do open houses, and then they can even take a listing. And that is just a mistake, because you're building a team of specialists. That's what you're building, is a team of specialists. So remember this: it's the most direct and surest way. We said it, you heard the warning earlier, don't skip steps. Master each one as you go. Each level is another thing to master. When you hire your first assistant, it's going to take you a year or two to master working with good administrative assistant. When you hire your second one, that's going to be great. Now you've got a team of people with you. Double the admin support. And I'll tell you when we get later and look at the path why you hire a second admin before you bring on any other agents who you're going to share commissions with. Because it's about your personal productivity. Second thing is, remember, we said it earlier, it starts as skills. You build the skills, you put them in place as systems, and then they become standards, operating manual of your team. This is how we do it on the Lori Bound team. This is how we do it on the Dave Jenks team. This is how we do it on the Debbie's Race team. Right? And then, underline this. This is really key, and I wish I had more time to spend on it today, but you'll hear me reference back to it. Job descriptions are the master key to building teams. Second only to your intention and vision. Your intention and vision will build a team, because you'll see it, you'll learn it, you'll study it, you'll picture it in your mind, and you'll move toward it. But second to that is, it's having powerful job descriptions. And here's what it means. A job description tells people what they own. They own these 47 tasks of the 172. They own them. You guide them, you teach them, you help them learn to handle those. They may not have them all at the beginning. The biggest mistake I find people encounter in hiring their first admin is a weak job description. The night before they show up, the agent panics and goes, oh my God, what am I going to have them do? And they write down 20 of the things they hate to do, and then they hand it to the person the next morning, and it almost like sticks to their finger, like gum on the bottom of your shoe. Here, I want you to do this. And it feels terrible. Here's what you want to do. Give them something that challenges them, because if you've hired talent, you want to overwhelm them with the task. Well, Dad, won't they get frightened? If they do, they're gone. No, I mean, if they get overwhelmed in a way that, like sends them out to La La Land, you've got the wrong person, and that's it. When's the nice time to find out? Yeah, actually before is better, right? So pay me now, pay me later. You'd rather find out beforehand. That's why you do a good, thorough, we're going to talk about it, recruit, select ahead of time. But assume that you've got somebody and you think they're really good and you're happy about having them on board, and now you just, the first day, in the first 100 days, we say, the first day, you're gonna create, here is your job. And if their eyes kind of get big, That's good. And he said, because I think you have the ability to operate at this level. So you see them succeeding, you encourage them to succeed, but you don't take it away and you don't spoon feed it to them. See, we all do that. There's two things we do. We try and spoon feed them into the things we want them to do, so we never get, you know, the spoon out of their mouth. The second thing is, we don't like to be supervised, so we don't supervise anybody. So that means we give them, oh, you know, you're so good, you'll figure this out, you know, figure the best way to do this, you know, and then they're not doing it the way you want, and you get upset. So now you start to tighten down. So what you've done is you've started loose, and now you go tight, and for them it feels like, what happened? I'm doing wrong. So what you do is, you get tight at the beginning. You're going to say, you know, it's going to feel to you like I'm micromanaging you, because I want to be so clear how I want things done, and I want you to succeed. So I am going to be tough. Now, you're going to earn your way to the fact that I know you can do it. And then you'll probably even tell me ways to do it better, and we'll brainstorm that together. So then you ease up. As they earn the right, you ease up on how tight your supervision is. Do you understand? It's a different way to look at it, but it's really important to get it off. But the big thing is that you give them a powerful job description. Load them up. Now you say, I want you to do all these 65 things, the first assistant. Why don't you do these 65 things? Is there anything on here? You hand it to them, and by the way, we've done the work on this in two regards. We have built job descriptions for every position on the mega-agent team. So in the book, on page 200, we have what I call the minimum job description. Okay, so what this is it takes, here's what a mega-agent team looks like, fully developed with all the positions. And then under it, it has the 5 or 6 things that they're in charge of. So that's a nice one-page way to look at the big rocks that each of them have. But in addition to this, we have taken that 172 lists and broken it down by each position. So we have a position job description for your first admin, for your transaction coordinator, for your buyer agent, and those are available as free downloads from Keller Williams University. And I will actually send them to Debbie and Kathy Kruma if you want to get them from them. Okay, I think they probably already have them, so I'll send them, particularly for the admin and the buyer's agents. But so what's neat in that, and I'm just going to add this on as a plus. What we did when we created these job descriptions, we added 2 other elements: a missing persons report and a benefits list. I want you to write that down. The 3 things you want to have for somebody are a job description, a missing person report, you want that for yourself, and a benefits list. And what that just simply means is that for each position on your team, you know here's what they're going to own. Okay? These tasks in the business, they're going to own this. And here is the kind of person I'm looking for, and that's the missing person report. Their experience, their skills, their personality style, all that stuff. And so you can then, when you learn this in Recruit Select, which we'll talk about later, but you learn the skill of asking the kind of questions that determine whether they are fitting the profile you're looking for, whether they fit the job, the missing person report. And then the third thing is we often undersell the benefits of working with us. And so one of the things we've created is a list of the 8 to 10 reasons that working on your team in that position will be a rewarding career for them. And we would encourage you, just like you have mastered a listing presentation, that you master a hiring presentation. When you've decided that they look like they're the talent, and now you want them to feel the desire to work with you, now you need to do a presentation with them. Let me tell you about how I work with people. Let me tell you what this could mean to you in your career. And then you start to go through this list of benefits. Is that beneficial to you? Is it? Yeah.
Yes.
So you might want to get that, particularly for your first admin if you haven't done that yet, because it really is important. And the big one for buyer's agents is, because always is this question for buyer's agents, well, I could have a better commission split somewhere else. And you say, I understand that, but my commitment isn't to your split, it's to your take-home pay. And so my goal is to maximize how much you get to keep without the hassles of trying to do everything there is to do in the real estate business. So you're doing what you love to do and getting paid the most per hour to do it that you could get paid by being with me. Split is only how we run our economic model on the team. That's all it is. So you've got to get past the simplistic mindset of the split to the more intelligent mindset of the take-home and the other benefits. You understand that? That's an important sale to master with the team. And as buyer's agents, it's that's the benefit. I mean, it's really interesting. There was a guy named Rick Dunning. Rick was the lead buyer agent, not the manager, not the listing agent manager. That was another woman because he wasn't a good manager, but he was a producer. So he was maybe senior. Maybe they called him that, the senior buyer agent with the McKissick Group. And he averaged about 6 or 7 contracts a month. He would put 6 or 7 buyers on average under contract every month. Is that good? Hello? And that's wonderful. And some months he would do double figures, 10 or 11. It was just amazing. And so I said to him when I went up and did their role model video, and I didn't do this on camera, but I said, so Rick, why aren't you an agent on your own? You're so good. He went, oh no, I've done that. I've done that, Dave. I would never do this much business on my own, ever. I tried. But here, I get the leads, I get the support, I get the systems, I get the management, I get the transaction coordination. I don't have to do any of the paperwork. So once I get a buyer under contract, I'm done. He said, I love that. I get to call him, I get to meet with him, I show him homes, get him under contract, I move on. He said, I love that game. No hassles, no sweat. He said, and I get more money than I've ever made. So he understood that value proposition. See, and that's what you want to build as you build a team. Because it's never about the split. It's always about the money I get to keep. So just remember, job descriptions are the master key, along with the missing person report and the benefit. It's a little more involved and in depth. And then mega recruit select is for agents hiring people, their team, and it's been simplified a little bit. It's a good thing. I mean, it doesn't need to be as complex, but it's really good. So here's the fun thing. Kristen is the lesson, 7th level. Last year, the Kristen Cole team, she lives in Phoenix or some area, some suburb of Phoenix. She's the regional director, full-time, here in the region we're a part of. Her mega team in Anchorage, Alaska did $51 million in closed sales last year. Hello? She's not there. That's called 7th level. So she's a good role model for you to listen to. Because she's done this, she's mastered it, so she's got incredible credibility in doing it. And it's a good system. So the point is, I just want to point that out to you really with this.
Where's the class done?
Here, right here. In this room, right? Yeah, right here. Our training center. This is all part of, one of the things that Debbie, she should leave the room because I'm going to give her a compliment. Debbie is so committed to the success of agents in this market center. That's why we are. That's why we've been solidly profit sharing for over 6 straight years. And the reason is because we have great agents, and the reason we have great agents is because Debbie's committed to having the team and the staff and the environment that really helps productivity. So she works hard to bring people like Kristen and willing to have the facility here and all that stuff so that we can get the training convenient to us. So Debbie, thank you for doing that.
Let me just say something. I just got passed a note. There's a tow truck that's going to tow a gray Lexus with a license plate that's K205, a blue Pathfinder that's I can't read it, 342, and a gray Outlander that's KEDRN. So if anybody has those cars.
Do you guys park in that
If you parked in
far corner right here in the parking lot?
Yeah. Not for more than 2 hours. No, it's quite a 2-hour parking. So if that's your car, I just want you to move it. There's plenty of parking back there.
Well,
Yeah. Same spots.
Okay, well, then we'll take a car moving. No, we're not. We're just going to move on. So, okay. So here's the thing. The second part of the process is train. We call it action-focused training. How to train people quickly into productivity on your team without taking too much of your time as the leader. Because you, as the leader of the team, are not a trainer. You could be probably, but you don't want to give too much time to being a trainer. You're more of a coach. So you need to get people to training, but it tells you how to do it. Train, and then lead and motivate is the third portion of that. That is how to bring leadership, how to build that leadership quality, what kind of leaders people want to work with in a production, action-oriented service business like real estate, and then how to, Gary calls it, motivate them. Right? You can't motivate people because they have to motivate themselves, but you can aid their motivation. You can motivate them, and with that proven process. And then the final step of the path to leverage, and write it down, underline it, is build your own ops manual. Now we've already got an ops manual built on available free download from Keller Williams University that we built on the work of the McKissick team, and then expanded beyond that. So we have in there the systems, the filing systems, the checklists, open house, everything. We probably have like 70 systems that are already there in that ops manual. And you can just download it and use that as your model. But what you want to do is you want to build your own, because write this under ops manual. It needs to reflect the way I want business done. It's your vision for your team, and it needs to come from your heart and your mind. This is how I want business done on the Dave Jenks team. I want it done this way. This is our standard. I put it in the system. It's our standard. So build your own ops manual. Now, as I said, back flip. Your first assistant. We have a section in here on page, what did I open it to? 244. On page 244, we have how to document your system with your admin. And it's just one page, and it shows you step by step how your admin will take each part of your business and organize it into an ops manual. So that's another reason to have them with you in that kind of drive time and other times, because you could be starting to brainstorm with them what you want in your ops manual. And their job is to record it, organize it, systematize it, then bring it back to you. And if there's things they do, you want them to document what they do and then do the same thing, run it by you. And then you give it your stamp of approval, and now it becomes the ops manual for your team. So anytime you're adding new people on, you don't have to reinvent or re-explain to them, because it's already in your ops manual. And I think, Lori, you even put some of your ops manual on video, haven't you?
Our entire operation plan is online, so it's on a .com site with videos.
But it includes video.
Everything has a video.
So this is the interesting thing. Not only does she have documentation, here are the steps, but she has videos, maybe screen captures if it's a software application thing, or the Valen method or something that's going on there, or it's somebody talking about doing it or showing people how to do it. So it's very powerful. And here's the thing. Write this down. I want you to. The important thing is to build it on the run. Build it on the run. Build the airplane in flight. Because you don't want to stop, and you won't. It won't be productive to stop and take the time out to go do an ops manual. And you're better off to do it. Same with your training program. See, if you're meeting with your first buyer's agent, and you're saying, let me share with you what I've learned about working with buyers. There's really three things you want to keep in mind. Boom, boom, boom. Here's the way you get them to sign the agreement. Here's the forms we use. Okay, videotape it. While you're talking to that one person, videotape it. It goes in your library, How to Work with Buyers, the Dave Jenks method, right? Right there. Now, you may go back and do another one and improve on it for your fourth buyer agent, and maybe ultimately your lead buyer agent builds one, and you just make sure you watch it and improve it. But the point is, see, as you're going, anytime you're teaching or leading or whatever, record it and make it part of your training library. powerful. You build it on the run. And then that's what we did with it. It's really funny. I mean, that's how we wrote the best-selling book in the history of real estate, was we just kept track of everything we were doing and made it better all the way along. And then ultimately it became enough to turn into something really good. So that's what you're doing too with your ops manager. All right, so here's the path. And this is important. This is what we mean by 7 levels, just so you're clear. This is what we mean by 7 levels. At level 1, I'm working by myself. Who's my assistant? I am. So I'm doing my admin, I'm doing everything. Now I may start to, I may use a transaction coordinator provided it's available to me. I may get somebody who does, my database for me part-time. So you can start adding part-time pieces in here. It's a smart thing to do. Add part-time people in with specialized skills. The one thing nice about virtual assistants is that they are specialized at what they do and you only pay for what you want done. So when you work with a virtual assistant, whether they're US-based or foreign, it doesn't matter, they're good. And there's lots of places you can go and look and get guidance as to where to look for candidates. But the neat thing is they only bill you for what they do. And they can do some things you can't. So for example, you can have somebody watch your website so that when somebody comes on your website and registers, they immediately respond. Now they're responding for bunches of people. Right? They're watching a lot of different websites. Yours comes up and boom, they send out your little personalized note to someone who just came on your website. And they will send a report to you. So you can have people doing things, same with answering your phone or whatever. Virtually is kind of a really neat way to go because you only pay for what you use. Now, the only problem with that is it turns you into administrative coordinator. You become an administrative quarterback for all these part-time services. So pretty soon you want to have your full-time admin who's going to be the quarterback of those services. Right? And you still may use those specialized services. That's a great way to leverage your admin. But they become the quarterback of them. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's part of it. But the point is, level 1, you're doing it all. Maybe using some others. There's some other. You can also let vendors be part of your team. So make a note to yourself that I can build team members, I can build my team without hiring people. One is, I can hire services. The second one is, I can get my vendors to do things for me I need done. I can get my program accelerated. So make a note to yourself. I want you to make a note. Level 3, the key in level 3 is to maximize my own production. That's the key to level 3. And number 2, to keep my lead generation accelerated. And the reason I say that is when you try and hire a buyer agent or more, and you've only got one admin, you make a big mistake. You load them up with administrative transaction management work, and they stop doing your lead generation. They stop doing your marketing because they get overwhelmed, and the most urgent thing are managing transactions, so they do transactions communication, and now your mailers aren't going out. Now your 8x8s aren't going out. And that is slacking in your business, and that will stall your growth faster than anything else. Paul?
Do you think that applies to a showing assistant also, or just an actual full-time buyer's agent?
No, I think that Paul said, does that apply to a showing assistant? Paul, and I'm going to say it in a minute, but Gary and I have done a lot of thinking even since we wrote the book, and we mentioned showing assistants in here, but we both agreed that if we were a mega producer, before we hired a buyer agent, we'd have a showing assistant for ourselves, full-time, with us. Yep. And here's why. It's another step to leverage that keeps you in charge.
So that would be like level 2.5 maybe?
I would say it's really, I think it's level 4A. It's the first step of level 4.
So the second admin is brought on before the showing assistant?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Before the showing assistant? Oh, what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't want to get. I think that we're drawing a fine line. So I think if your sense is in your own productivity that a showing assistant, either full-time or part-time, like another agent in the office that that you trust to handle clients in your name as your assistant, you know, as like a part of your team. Because remember, that's what they have to do. They have to really act as if they are fully on your team, doing it on your behalf. If you feel that would give you more productive leverage, then that's okay. I would add it in. You could add it in then. But the danger, here's the danger. The danger is to not shore up your administrative system. The hard thing to remember, you can tell this by looking at Russell Shaw's operation. Now here's Russell Shaw. We mentioned him in the book. He and Wendy, they were averaging along at 20 transactions a year for many, many years in real estate. And then he realized that he was just underselling what he could do, and he needed to be listing oriented and marketing oriented. And boom, within 5 years they were doing 200 transactions, and then your lead worked with them, they did over 400. So his key, if you look at his whole team, it's him as the CEO, it's his wife Wendy as his kind of lead administrative or staff coordinator, and then he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 admins, 1.5 listing specialists, and 1 buyer's agent. And people love working with him. Russell Shaw, what's it called?
Hassle-free listing.
Hassle-free or no hassle? The no hassle listing system?
It's no hassle.
I think it's a no hassle. No hassle listing system. Anyway, the point is, I want you to write this note down because this will surprise you. Your greatest value proposition to your clients will be your administrative team. Your greatest value proposition to your clients will be your administrative team. They'll have more contact, they'll have more consistency, they'll have more caring connection, they'll feel more served by them, and that's who they will remember after the transaction. And we put too much emphasis on the selling part of the business. We do. Now it takes sales to get, and the sales ability to get listings and to get people to work with us. But beyond that, it's, let me just kind of do the ultimate, just the answer to that question. We talked to Gary Matthews in Houston. He and his wife, at the time we interviewed them, he's with RE/MAX, I think they were doing 500 plus transactions a year. And he said to Gary, so, give us a sense of your team. And he said, well, I've got 2 listing specialists and I just added a 3rd one. And we were interviewing him in front of 400 gathered top Keller Williams agents at our mastermind. And I said to him over the phone, I said, so how do you get them to be as good at listing as you were, or you are? And he paused for a second and he said, well, Dave, you understand that 80% of the time, those people only called us. Now, what does that mean? That person who went to get the listing did not have to know how to what? Sell. They had to be a good order taker. No, I'm talking that down more than I should. They were a good administrative processing, service-oriented person. They weren't this aggressive, big, sales-oriented listing specialist. They were a good provider. So what you find is you master lead generation and your team masters service. And you give them a system and they do the system. Right. Debbie, was there something you were going to say earlier?
Yeah, I want to just ask you, because I see people doing it all the time, they're at level 2 and their things are really working well for them, and then they miss 3 and they hop to 4 with that buyer's agent and they implode and then they start over. And why do they do that? Why don't they?
Well, I think it's because it's hard to move from a producer's mindset to a business mindset. And when you're a producer, you think adding other people who are sales oriented will make you move faster.
It'll get your money. They see it as money faster to them?
They see it as money faster to them. They see it as production. They see it as somebody that, and in another way is, because they haven't disciplined themselves to work efficiently with buyers, they see it as a relief of their workload. So they don't want to show people 40 homes, and they haven't mastered how to stop people from showing 40 homes. So they end up going, oh, I got to give this to someone else who will show them 40 homes. And so the challenge, Debbie, it's a great question. Why is that skipped?
The other thing is, it's the mistake of how money makes money. The feeling when you hire a buyer agent is they don't cost me anything. And that is a myth. But the thing is, because I don't pay them till a deal closes. So they're not costing me anything. Whereas if I hire an admin, wow, I'm paying a weekly or monthly salary. See, and the thing is, you will get more return, dollar for dollar, on that second admin than you'll ever get from the buyer's agent. And when you bring a buyer agent in too soon, or you don't train them right, they'll burn business for you like you won't realize. But you can't count burnt business. See, the problem we have with the bean counter's mindset is we don't know how to count the beans we lost.
You just made me think of something. If they lose one sale, buyer sale that month, they've lost more than what their admin's costing them for that entire
Absolutely,
month.
absolutely.
And they're not seeing it that way.
Yeah, and particularly if I'm the one doing that sale. See, I mean, in other words, if I can add in 2 admins, and that allows me to work more effectively with buyers, and I master that. The other thing is, it's like Nikki Ubaldini. Anything that you can see on KW Connect done by Nikki, N-I-K-K-I, Ubaldini, U-B-A-L-D-I-N-I. Just go watch it. She is brilliant with buyers. And in their business early on, Gary mastered listings, she mastered buyers, husband and wife team. She got this idea of how to work. She understood how to work effectively with buyers, like a Mike Mendoza, 4 to 6 hours, first meeting to contract. I mean, that's so the reason I say this is, if you really master the art of working with buyers, which if you have your second admin, you can do, because they'll be making sure your lead generation's all working out there. Because you'll see, we say first assistant, they do everything. Then we say it breaks down into marketing administrative, that's your lead admin. But what's the focus on? Marketing. And then your transaction coordinator, they're working on transactions and transaction processing. So it's a powerful combination, you will find. Now, probably very quickly, when you did that, you put that in there, you got that shored up, 2 really good people, admins, then maybe you'd really quickly add in a showing assistant. Because a showing assistant is going to make you more productive, and you're going to see if they can qualify to be your full-time buyer agent, right? So showing assistants are a great way to screen who's going to ultimately be a full-time buyer agent with you. Because you get to test, and you get to train. You get to show them the way you want it done. And you get some oriented leader. Now, they don't have to be a leader like you're a leader. They don't have to be high D. But they have to, because what you find with this, you find that ISCs, or SCIs, the disc for the ISC, with all of those above the line and the D low, they with the right direction will act like Ds. Because they're disciplined, they pay attention to detail, and they do what you want them to do. So they will, I mean, and people mix up. They identify D with motivation. It's not. High Ds are not more motivated than high Is or high S's or high Cs. Motivation's a different issue. Motivations has to do with them personally in their life, their lifestyle, and their ambitions. SC is just the DISC is just a behavioral style. You can have a bunch of lazy Ds, but they always want to be in charge. In fact, you already know them. You've worked for them probably, right? They want to be in charge and they don't do anything. You go, what's this? They'll attack you and challenge you, and they'll just make everything around about them, but they won't get things done. So anyway, just don't confuse the two. One's a behavioral style, motivation's a different issue. Now, so then level 4 is where you now start to leverage your buyer services. Now, we believe that it's best to bring on a showing assistant. You still work with buyers. You still have the initial meeting and you negotiate the offers. And you're still the key one in a relationship. You're like a surgeon. I always like to say to agents, mega agents who haven't gone to a full team yet, maybe you're a business person, but think of yourself as a surgeon. And if I'm a surgeon, I'm not my receptionist, and I don't keep the records and file with Medicare and all that kind of stuff. I don't do that.
And I don't do the prep of the person before the surgery. I sit down and help them make the decision about what surgery to do. I analyze what kind of surgery they need, and I show up to do the surgery. Well, that's you as a mega agent working with buyers. I'm the buyer surgeon. I have other people that do other things, like showing homes and answering questions, getting forms filled out, all that stuff, doing pre-quals, pre-approvals on mortgages, all that stuff. I got my team. But I'm the surgeon. I show up to help them make good decisions and then get it done. Get it finally put together, right? We just think of that. It's a mindset. So that's level 4. Level 5 is, and it's not an immediate jump, but level 5 is where you figure out how this works. Oh no!
Don't stand.
How do I do don't scan?
Go to the X at the top of the box.
There you go. 46 seconds left before it's all over.
That's right. But every time I see a clock ticking down, you know, well, how many mistakes can I make before I get it? So level 5 just means this. Level 5 simply means that now I'm starting to leverage my listing special, my listing side of the business. Okay? Now it doesn't mean necessarily that I leap right into a full-time listing specialist. They may come on as being a listing assistant. Go on with me on things. I leave the home, they do the measurements, they take the pictures, they arrange for the sign. You understand what I'm saying? They do a lot of the on-site detail stuff. They may be doing the weekly follow-up. Here's the action on your home, here's what's happening in the market. So they're helping you service your listings by taking over some of the tasks. Ultimately, they'll earn the right to go out on a listing presentation themselves. But here's the thing to remember. You always have the right to do any transaction you want to do. If a multi-million-dollar listing opportunity comes in, there is no problem with you taking it and not giving it to your listing specialist. Do you understand that? Why? It's your company. Thank you. No, that's it. No, that's it. It's your company. And also, it's important to the business because you know you need to make sure that one gets done. Now, you can bring them with you so they can learn how to deal with a multi-million-dollar seller. So, good. Use as a training opportunity. But never be embarrassed by the money you make or the work you decide to do, ever. You want their success. You're not going to set them up for failure. And sending them on a listing that they might not be ready for, that would have a big outcome, isn't in their interest. So anyway, that's all you're doing at level 5. You're starting to add in listing specialists. By the way, we have a job description and a missing person report and a benefits list for that position. So you add that in. But that's the kind of the last one, the last key area you delegate because it's the most dollar productive one for you. Taking listings is the most dollar productive part of the real estate business and requires the most skill. So it's the last one you delegate. Actually, the very last one you delegate, it's really interesting, is a position we don't have on here. It's really this one. Yes, it is. Lead coordinator. Make a little star by that. Lead coordinator is overseeing lead follow-up. Now, there's two parts of lead coordination. Here's what lead coordination means, and particularly big in the internet age because we get so many leads from our internet work that we're doing it. But they're not good leads. I mean, they're not hot leads. They're not immediate personal leads. They're good. You know, every lead's good, but the point is they take work, and the work they take is constant lead follow-up and sorting through and doing what Seth Godin calls permission marketing. Getting the right to have more and more close relationship until they actually come in for a meeting. So that's a process. So there's that side of your business. There's the tracking it, the tracking the lead follow-up, and then there's the doing, the having the interaction part of lead follow-up. One's more administrative, just keeping track of it, reporting where the person called from, what ad they called on, so we know where our leads are coming from, and how many times they've been contacted, what they've been sent, all that stuff. That's administrative, that's lead. And we really wrote lead coordinator as that. Keeping track of who's following up and who owns it, maybe which buyer agent has been assigned it or which listing specialist has been assigned follow-up. But it also could be a combination of your telemarketer. That's what Ben Kinney, and he's got, you know, like this, the number, what, 2 team, anyway, number 1, 2, or 3 team in all of Keller Williams up in Seattle. Multiple locations, yes, multiple market centers he owns. So his team, his production team works out of multiple market centers, and it's powerful. But he has 2 full-time telemarketers sitting in his office doing lead follow-up for all of them. And they'll give their, quote, local agent a chance to do initial lead connection in case they can get an appointment right away. But the minute they don't, they kind of pump it into the lead follow-up system. And then these telemarketers are just going through that list all the time until, see, the person is ready. And then boom, they get the appointment. Now, that job, that overseeing lead follow-up and coordination is the last thing you give up as a mega agent in terms of the tasks in your work, because it requires the most skill and the most commitment to results, and it'll be the most dollar productive use of your time. You'll do it better than anybody else. Okay, so that's important. Now, then that takes us to sixth level is simply you aren't really doing. I mean, you may selectively do, but you're not doing any of the jobs. You are overseeing it. You're the leader. You're the day-to-day manager and leader. You're the inspiration. You're the CEO. And then ultimately, at the 7th level, you replace yourself. Typically, one of your 3 key people will become your CEO, and you will move to the owner level. Now, you still will hold it accountable. We'll talk about that right here. So here's the next thing to remember. On page 197 is really the outlook, the look at, here's what a full-bore millionaire real estate agent team looks like. And you can call any of these jobs different descriptions, and you have I've had a bunch of people come up with fancy names, you know, client services coordinator, and, you know, it doesn't, whatever you call it, functionally, these are the jobs. There really aren't any other. These are the jobs. You can have 1 or more people in each of the jobs, depending on the workload. The other thing is, on workload, stretch people and help them figure out the way to do it best. And do it more, rather than adding more people. I had an agent come to me once and said, you know, I need to add a 2nd transaction coordinator. And I knew about what their production was. I said, really? I said, you know, how many closings do you do? And he said, we're up to like select process. And then you want to develop their talent. And so the formula for this is, you know, successful leverage is about people lead generation, always looking for talent, group select, hiring, having a process for making good hires, action-focused training, getting them without a lot of your time, doing things well, guiding them to their ways where they can learn, holding them accountable to that, synergistic leadership, getting people to work well together, and then motivation and accountability coaching. Remember this? Just a couple of things I want to cover real quick before we finish. All work is done in the name of the team. It's not about them, it's about the team. And if the team's name is a person, then it's about the person. Hi, this is Dave Jenks, I'm the Lori Allen team. Lori asked me to call you. Right? I mean, that's just the way it goes. You know, because what you get in this business is people want to be on your team, but then they want to build their own brand. And that just doesn't work. It's a mixed up thing. It's the wrong thing. They need to be somewhere else. Building their own brand. Nothing wrong with them building their brand, but not with you on your team. You're building a brand that the consumer can rely on. So everyone does the work in the name of the brand, and you really focus the brand in your market. The other thing is, here's the key to hiring. It's not necessary. Yes, it's the behavioral profile and what are their skills and experience. But here's the thing: everyone on your team needs to be the same. Smart, attractive, motivated, and you can't train any of those things. So you look for them to begin with, and you're tough about it. If they're not quick, when we mean smart, we don't mean intellectual. It doesn't matter how many degrees they have or whatever. Do they have high EQ? Do they get things quick? Right, quick learning, quick studies. They hear what you say, got that. You can tell. You can tell in that interaction. Right? If you're talking fast, they're listening fast. So they're quick to get things. Number two is they're attractive, and that just means it's fun to be, they feel good to be with. It doesn't necessarily mean about beautiful or stylish or any of that. Although they use, you want them, they take good care of themselves. They're well groomed, they're nicely dressed. But the point is, it's really more that you feel the attraction. People would like to be with them. Motivated, you can't do that for them. So you're looking for people, and you're looking for in their background, are they self-starters and motivated people, and what evidence can they bring you and share with you that they are motivated. And ethical, of course. When you do the deep background checks on people, you do the third level background checks, you're doing it for that reason. You're checking ethics. You're really checking M&E, motivation and ethics, but you're really checking ethics. So if somebody was really a pain in the area, or didn't get along with people, or was a little slippery in their work, or didn't always tell the truth, and the minute you get that kind of information, well, you can't train it. This is important. As you hire people, don't focus on the social. These relationships are meant to be business-like, team-oriented relationships, like soldiers that go to war together, people that play on a championship basketball team together. They're people that love the task, work together on the task, may or may not get together outside. People try and build teamwork by doing social things. To me, it's often a mistake. Because once you get into friendship with people, it's hard to be in a work relationship with them. Because you can't be as tough and straight. You can't be as straight, not tough, just straight and tough as you need to be. So it's, like I would say, Gary J. and I, great, powerful, creative team, writing best-selling books. I mean, just really great. Not personal friends. Not personal friends. Do we like each other? Oh yeah. Did we go to war together? Absolutely. We probably would even call we loved each other. But did we want to hang out together? No. But we didn't. Right? We each had our own sphere of friends. Yeah. So just remember, make sure the business it always is a business relationship. Then turnover isn't bad because it can mean upgrading. And yes, you have to look and say, can I learn from the hiring I made? But look, people are going to leave, and it may be the right thing, and you may have to ask them. It's okay. What you don't want to do, this is it. Hire slow, fire fast. That's the rule of you as a leader. Hire slow, fire fast. Be careful who you hire. If you hire them and they really are not getting it done, if you get that feeling early, it's not going to get better. So you might as well part ways. Now you do it in a nice way. You can look and help them get their next job, or you can be as helpful as you want to be with them and caring. Say, I really care about you, and what I know is this isn't the right position for you. But let's talk about where the next right position would be for you. And then you go back to maybe the recruit select mature you did and kind of have to rethink. What came out of that showed where they would go. So you can be helpful. You don't have to take too much time to do that, but you could be willing to do. This is the other thing. Where do you touch people? You touch them on a regular basis as a leader. Weekly accountability meetings. They shouldn't be right under this 10 minutes. Accountability meetings shouldn't last more than 10 minutes. If an accountability meeting lasts more than 10 minutes, you've gotten into therapy. Or training, and either one's right. In other words, because there's only 5 questions that you ask in a accountability session. What were you trying to do? Which you look for goal list or a 411. Number 2 is, how did you do? What happened? 3 is, how do you feel about it? Number 4 is, what are you going to do now? Number 5 is, what could get in your way, or what resources do you have? That's it. There is no statement in there that says, what can I do to help? Get that as a supervisor of people, as a leader, accountability leader, do not use ever that phrase. What can I do to help? Because now what? You will have the problem. And you're trying to make them accountable, not you. So it's important. So you have the weekly accountability, you have your training meeting. That's where training happens. See, if you take too long here, if someone says, well, I can't figure out how to do X, Y, Z, say, great, let's bring that up at the training meeting. Hear that? So they say, I'm really struggling with getting them to sign a buyer's rep agreement. Okay, you understand why we do buyer's rep agreement? Yes, I do. You think it's important? Yes. You're struggling with how to do it? Right? Come to our training meeting. We'll do that this week. Or go watch my video one. Go watch Nikki Ubaldini. Right? So, as a leader, accountability coach, and then you point people to training. And occasionally you show up and do the training, but then it's recorded. And then finally is, know what your key moments of truth are in your business. How many leads did we get? How many calls did we make? What's getting tracked? How many appointments have we had? How many listings have we taken? How many days on the market? How are we, what's our percent of taking contracts to closings? That kind of thing. Make your stand on your first hire. In other words, and the other thing is, make a note by this slide. Pay what will bring you talent. Pay the money that will bring you talent. Particularly at the administrative level. The biggest mistake I see agents make is they try and under-hire economically. So they go, well, I can't afford more than, $12 an hour. Okay, well, what's, in your area, what do great admins make? I don't know. We'll find out. You may find out they probably make $25 an hour. And what are you going to pay? $25 an hour. So what I always do when I promote a job, I put down all the things I'm looking for in this person report, the excitement of working with fast-growing real estate team, and then I put compensation in the high 40s to mid 50s, depending upon experience. Now I'm using a number. That would be a number I'd use if the standard in the area was like say $35,000 to $40,000. I'd go above that. But what if I just what phrase did I use that allows me to do that? Based on experience. So you may get what we call emerging talent, somebody that's new. And if somebody new comes on board, what you do with them is they say, well, I thought this was, you say, okay, we can hire you. I think that $38,000 would be a good starting point. So, and they go, well, I thought you said high 40s or 50s. And we say, well, based on experience, and clearly you've never made more than $32,000 in your life. And you're new, and this opportunity, you'll grow. And by the way, you'll get to high 40s, low 50s fast. Understand? So you can do that. So the reason, why do you want to advertise a higher income, a higher potential? Better candidates, absolutely, because you may get somebody that really you would pay that for. And just remember this note: the difference between administratively, the difference between mediocre and world class is only $1,000 a month. In other words, in a market where you have to pay $38,000 to get anybody even decent, $50,000 will get you one that. It's $1,000 a month. So it's worth it paying in our, so they know what their role is to achieve that goal, and we keep tracking the goal and rewarding people for their role. That make sense? And we share with each other the job descriptions so that everyone knows everyone else's role. That's how you do. If you got a basketball team, you know who the point guard is. He's going to bring the ball up, dribble it, pass it, make plays happen. You know who your shooting guard is, that's your three-point shooter and the big scorer. You know who your power forward is. I mean, he's going to just go in and bang rebounds and get them and play great defense. And your center's going to do their offense. That's one thing. But we know where they're going to be stationed. They're going to be in around the basket, using their height and bulk to get that. And you're going to have the finesse forward that can go either way. It can be a shooter or whatever, and doesn't get as many rebounds. Okay, they each have a role. So you know, championship team, you know the goal, championship, you know the role. Well, each person knows their role on the team. You're going to build the same thing, and then understand that quantity does not get in the way of quality. In fact, quality improves with quantity. The more business your team does, the better you will get at doing it. The more systems you'll have in place, the more talented and your specialized people will be. You will provide better service than an agent trying to do it all themselves. You just will when you sell that. And so the final thing to say is remember that this is an amazing opportunity. In 10 to 15 years, the question you want to ask yourself is, where do I want my real estate career to be? And if I start doing the right things now, I could be at a high level. I could be at 7th. And maybe I'm 6th level, but my net income is $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000, not $1 million. That's okay. It's a great net income. But your time is free. Here's the other thing I want you to kind of keep in your mind. People think that building teams adds complexity in your life, and it doesn't. It doesn't. It adds simplicity in your life because you get leverage. It gives you choices in your life and a freedom of time because you have leverage. So is that mine covered? Okay. That's right, it does mean time, and time is up. So, just remember this, the final thing I just want to say is, this is a great opportunity, it's worth thinking about, keeping on your mind. You're only 3 hires away. We say, you're 3 hours a day and 3 hires away from being an owner. In other words, 3 hours a day for lead generation and 3 key hires, because the rest of the people on the team will be hired by whom? Those 3. Those 3. In other words, your lead buyer agent will build a buyer agent team, your lead listing specialist will build a listing team, your lead admin will build all the administrative teams. So that's not your job to hire or supervise them. You're just overseeing your 3 key leaders. And there it is, the opportunity.